Test, test, one, two, three. Hello, hello, welcome. Hope everybody is doing well tonight. We are going to be going over the final part of Noodles and SwagKage's debate on Minato versus Kakuzu. I'm getting set up here. We'll be ready to start in just a minute. The first part of the stream will be a quick overview, I think, as long as I can get this thing working here, will be a quick overview of the concept of, how do you say, what the Biju Psyche plane is. So basically, or like, not the Biju Psyche plane, sorry, the space in which Naruto fights Kurama. I just want to talk very, very briefly about what the series tells us that space is. Admittedly, it's pretty damn vague, but hopefully we can get some vague amount of insight, because after that, we're going to get into a discussion in the debate where basically the debaters are going to be talking specifically about what it means to be in that space, whether or not that space is a literal thing, whether it's just an abstract representation of the fight. So I'll share my opinions, and I'll share like some basic context about that whole thing, and then we can kind of go from there and just review the debate. Gonna try and keep a pretty brisk pace tonight because I don't have all that much time, so it won't be a major like 5 hour long ramble like it usually is, sometimes is. I do have to do some work before work tomorrow. But that being said, just give me just a second to finish setting up here, and we'll be getting started in just a second. I will say, Noodles actually reached out to me a week or so ago via DM in Discord, which was nice. It was nice to receive a friendly message, and there is a chance that we might VC at some point in the future, if our schedules permit. But we had a little, DM exchange back and forth, and I'm not going to talk specifically about what, where are the Naruto notes here? Multitasking. Okay, I'm not going to talk about specifically what was said because, DMs I think should be kept in private unless both parties consent. That being said, I will say this, that there's one thing that I think is a lesson that is coming up pretty consistently for me, is that if you have the opportunity to talk to somebody directly, be willing to try to do that, because sometimes, we have our online personas and we have our online versions of ourselves that we project, and when you are trying to understand someone, and all you have to go off of is their fucking online persona, it might not be a very good way of understanding who they are and where they're coming from. And Naruto as a series is a series about trying to understand people, even if you disagree with them, trying to make peace with your enemies, trying to empathize with people, even if you are bitter opponents. Which I wouldn't even describe myself with Noodles that way. I would just say that I have a strong disagreement with the way that he talks to people and the way that he approaches his argumentation. But, I think it can be valuable to try to have those conversations, and just to remember that at the end of the day, despite our personas, there is a person underneath the persona. Now, that being said, I think that you choose to cultivate the persona that you then project out there into the world, and that is a choice that you make, and that choice has repercussions and affects people. And you should be, I'm not speaking like you, Noodles, I'm calling you out, like I'm saying in general, right? The collective you should be willing to consider how that affects other people. I think that that's very important, and not underestimate. Like, I was telling Six this the other day. Like, don't underestimate the value of your platform. Whether you have one person who listens to you, 10, 100,000, a million, whatever it is, don't underestimate the influence that you can have on somebody else's life when you connect with them, when you speak to them, engage with them, when you educate them, or try or like share information with them. Right? Like, let's all keep in mind that this stuff is valuable and does matter. So with that being said, I will get to chat in just a second. Hey, anyway, so like we might have a chat, we might not. We had a decently pleasant exchange of words, and that was cool. Um, yeah, but let me get back into the actual thing in 1 second. So give me like 2 minutes to find. I want to find the Orochimaru dimension thing. Surpass Tobirama. That's not it. Okay, this is. We go back before the 5 Kage Summit, obviously. Right, so there's. Okay. Sickness Meet Him Week, 363. Okay, Data versus Sasuke, 357. Okay, give me a second to catch up here. Sasuke versus Orochimaru. Orochimaru says, okay, so 345 maybe? And then I want to see if I can find the confrontation between Sasuke and Naruto as well. And then we'll be ready to go. I know I talked about some of this stuff in a previous stream, but I want to make sure like everything is fresh in everybody's minds. This is the ritual one. Okay, so it'll be something like chapter 310 maybe. I'm looking for the chapter where Naruto has Sasuke enter him and like dispel Kurama when they're searching for him. So it's like somewhere around here. It might be before here. Yeah, so here we go. All right, so we will get started in just a second. Let me catch up on chat. Hey there, Shinigami. Hey there, Slimy Orb. Hey there, One Smart, aka Karibo. It is good to see you guys. Hope you're having a great weekend. Karibo, does your name? I know it refers to that like Yu-Gi-Oh card, right? But does Karibo also mean chestnut in Japanese? I feel like I heard that somewhere recently. Yeah. It is go. Yeah, pause, Shinigami. It's going pretty well. I have been trying to be a little bit healthier, fixing up my diet a little bit. Just got back from the gym actually, and I'm out of shape, so it's a little bit humbling, I guess, to kind of go back and be like, oh shit, okay, I'm very rusty. But it also feels immediately nicer to like, and I have never gone and worked out and really regretted it. I always feel at least a little bit better just having gone to work out. So, I'm gonna try and be better about that in the sense of being more consistent. Yeah, so doing pretty good. Let's see. Hey to sport. Shinigami says sorry for being late, and no worries, you're not late, dude. We're still kind of getting ramped up. Abstract. No, I was talking about Noodles. Yeah. You mask your emotions 24/7. I hope you can share your emotions freely with friends and family at least. But I know what it's like to play things close to the chest, so to speak. I'm doing okay. Yeah, I hope you're doing okay as well. You want to share soon the emotional management point of my light versus Itachi script? Oh yeah, feel free to. Probably not gonna talk much about it tonight, just because I want to make sure to keep the pace quick to get through as much as possible. But yeah, I appreciate that you're working on it. I encourage you to keep working on it. Great work so far. Great work on the art as well. Thank you for sharing that. I really like the design of that axe. It's very cool. Has a very like foresty, sylvan kind of theme to it. Hope you're doing well as well. Slimy Orb and Kuribo. Let's see. It's like chestnut guy. Okay, yeah, I gotcha. I don't remember what Kuribo means. It's been a while. Yeah, I think I was listening to a YouTuber who goes by the name of Norky. I'll spell it out in chat if you want to look it up. Norky. And so basically, what he does is he goes through Mario and Zelda games and stuff like that, and he talks about things that have been lost in translation. So it's actually very fascinating especially if you're interested in like Naruto translations, because there are there are terms that come up that wind up overlapping with some of the stuff we talk about with Naruto debates and things like that. So it's really interesting. I think that it's all too easy to basically just be like, oh, this is a blatant mistranslation, therefore the translator fucked up. Those rogue Viz translators fucking things up as usual. Viz are so inconsistent, blah blah, and just like not empathize much with the process, like the challenge, the sort of hybrid art and science that goes into doing translations in the first place. And the more I learn about it, the more I realize it is really fucking hard. And just because something doesn't get translated like with dictionary levels of accuracy in terms of like the most hyper literal translation doesn't mean that the translator failed to capture the spirit of it. And I think Norky does a great job of going over like what counts as mistakes versus what counts as creative interpretations. Sometimes the meaning of a translation will change, but it will change because there is no real equivalent in English versus Japanese. And sometimes, like like an example that came up with the salads and bolts translation that she did of the Momoshiki Boruto novel, like Momoshiki scenes, right? Like the term oni doesn't really translate directly into English because it just has a different cultural context. Sometimes it gets translated as ogre, which is kind of correct. Sometimes it gets translated as demon, which is kind of correct. But demons and ogres have their own folklore and history and cultural, significance, whether it be something modern like Shrek or going back into like older folklore. There is a difference between an ogre and an oni, and so it's better, I think, in some cases to just leave it as oni, but then you'll have to put like a little translator's note in the margins or whatever. So it's tough. You always have to do this like constant walking a tightrope when you're translating. And I think Norky Norky, his videos are so great because he really explains in detail what that process is like and the kinds of mistakes that can come out of it. So highly encourage you to check that out. I have not yet watched the new Avatar movie Kuribo. I thought it was only in a limited run, like on Paramount Plus. Is it actually like out in theaters? Because I'd like to go see it, especially my partner is a big fan too. Shinigami says, I only share my emotions with my girlfriend and my personal trainer, but even parts of it, it's like I show 90% of how I think. I don't feel most people feel like I know how I feel, like how I would react if somebody said the way I'm treating my girlfriend is the bare minimum. Oh, yeah, I feel you, man. I can be pretty guarded, or like, especially when I first started the stream, and especially with people that I don't know. I don't mean to, but I find myself putting on a bit of a show. Like, I think deep down, because I didn't like get along with people, I didn't like fit in when I was younger. I think deep in my brain, there's like this little alarm bell that goes off when I'm around new people or when I'm performing, if you want to call this a performance or whatever, that I'm like, oh shit, you better play your cards close to your chest. You better be careful not to say too much or be too weird or whatever. And so it takes me a while to open up. But I think, I, uh, I forget the exact quote, but like I think there's a Dr. Seuss quote that's like, do what you want and say how you feel because those who mind won't matter and those who matter won't mind. Something like that. Basically like if you express yourself honestly and that pushes people away, then they probably weren't supposed to be around you in the first place. Obviously, don't be a douchebag. Like if your honest form of expression is to treat people like shit, maybe examine that and maybe don't do that. But barring that, I think I'm doing a lot of reflecting on this now, and I'm realizing how much of my life I've spent not being not like being intentionally dishonest or anything like that, but just like not fully sharing myself with people, holding myself back, like not really expressing how I truly feel in some instances. And I think it's a missed opportunity. It feels kind of stifling now that I realize it. So I would encourage you, if it feels safe, to continue to explore that. Obviously, not if it makes you uncomfortable, but yeah, hopefully that's helpful in some way. Um, Slimy Orb says, I found the video. It's Mr. Top 10 list, top 10 translated Yu-Gi-Oh card names. Oh, cool, cool, cool. Yeah, feel free to post that in the Discord if you like. I'd be happy to check that out. Hey there, Ryoman. Hope you're doing well. Ryoman says, Dexter versus Apollo and outsmarting Apollo. Do you mean like the debater Apollo? I don't know, man. Like, I think Apollo knows quite a bit about philosophy and philosophy terminology, and he can spot logical fallacies and stuff like that within the context of a debate. I'm not sure how well he would do outside of that context, though. I think he might be boosting himself a little bit with his philosophy terminology, if that makes sense. No disrespect or anything, but I don't know if he would compare to like a mastermind of criminality or something like that. That might not be an appropriate comparison. Orb says, what you're saying is Onis have layers. Yes, exactly. Onis have layers. And Onis, on the outside, they might seem a little, like, hard and like, tough to crack. But like a persimmon on the inside, they actually have a lot of softness and sweetness if you're willing to get through the exterior. Um, I'm saying persimmon because I'm playing Sekiro, and they're important in that story. If you know, you know. What do they call Shrek in the Japanese dub? I would guess Shreku, but I don't know for sure. Dexter from the show, Apollo the Debater. Yeah. No further commentary at this time. Slimy Orb says, also, John, I found an even dumber One Piece question short. Oh, yeah, yeah. Please feel free to let me know or to post it. On that note, I'm gonna talk to you guys in Discord more about this. I do think I'm gonna take Ursa's suggestion and make a video about the fucking Foxy Light Beams thing, because the more I read the series, first of all, the more I love it. Like, I'm really enjoying it, but also the more I'm pretty pissed off, like, low key, about the argumentation around Foxy's light beams. And I feel like, not that I've been lied to intentionally, but definitely misled, and I feel like unnecessarily and unfriendlyly, if that makes sense. So I'm pretty ticked off, and I need to get some, like, to turn that into something creative, if that makes sense. Okay, so with that being said, Whitebeard versus Akaino, Whitebeard, no diffs. I still haven't gotten to Whitebeard yet. Or wait, no. I think I've seen Whitebeard in One Piece. I just saw him, like, hooked up to the IVs, surrounded by women or whatever. I haven't actually seen him do anything, though. Subsonic at best. You will, as long as we agree that they're not light speed, then I think we can get along about that. Okay, so in the debate, once we resume it, they're going to be talking about what it means to be inside the Biju Psyche plane, or whether, basically, whether or not when um, inside the seal, things that happen in Karama's, like, trapped little mental realm or mindscape, or whatever you want to call it, wherever he happens to be sealed up, if things that happen in that space accurately reflect the real world. Something that I should also get ready is whirl within the spiral. By the way, for those who don't know, the Minato one shot is available for free on the Naruto official website if you want to check it out. So that being said, yeah, I want to just see what we can glean from a quick observation of the space, just so we have a little bit of context going into it. That being said, there's a bunch of scenes that I won't be covering, just because I didn't have time to, like, scan through the whole series to find them all. If you want to go over anything specific, let me know, or leave me a comment, and I'll try to research it some more after the video. But yeah, the idea is to just kind of give us a general idea going in of what the space is and how it works. So, let's see. Slimy Orb says, I figure that Foxy doesn't know what he's talking about, and the beams are actually particles and not photons. Yeah, that's a possibility. I think that, like, that's at least partially true. The way I interpret it is, like, um, it is, so Foxy's beams are light. They are just a different kind of fictional light. Like, imagine, for example, that I developed a device, and that device sent out a form of light that was of a frequency that was higher than any other light in the universe. And when I turned on, like, a flashlight that emitted that light, it would immediately, like, cut through anything it touched, right? I could still, and also, or, like, let's just say that it healed people, right? Let's say it healed people instead of cutting through things. That light obviously isn't one to one with real world light, right? It doesn't work quite the same way, because it's a higher frequency than anything that we discovered so far, and it heals people. Regular light doesn't do that. And let's just say also that the photons that it was composed of are actually 2 times bigger than regular photons and travel 4 times faster, right? I could still call that thing light, because it bears the same properties of light in general. If I say the general definition of light is something that emits radiation that consists of photons that have the properties of both waves and particles, and that, like, illuminates things, that I don't know, I'll leave it at there, right? That it illuminates things, then there can be any number of subclasses, subcategories of light, right? In the same way that if I say, like, there is a class of animals called Felidae, or Ursa, right? Ursines, like canines, right? There are lots of different kinds of canines. There are lots that, dogs are one of them, but there are other types of canines that aren't dogs. So I think that's the way that we should look at it. It is light. It is made of photons, but it is not real world physical light that has the same properties in our universe. It is a subclass of light within a fictional universe where where guns can eat fruit and turn into dogs, where men can be made out of rubber and stretch for massive distances, where animals can talk to each other, where a reindeer can eat a fruit and become, a sentient talking thing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So That's the best way to categorize it, I think. And that allows for the nuance of it still being able to have light like properties like bouncing off of surfaces or reflecting off of mirrors or whatever, but also to have extra properties and different properties from real world light. After all, the beams aren't composed of photons, they're composed of slowpoke photons, right? A different subclass of photon that is different from main photons, right? So anyway, let me catch up real quick. Do they keep it or do they change it to Oni? Yeah, that's I don't know. I don't know actually. I'd have to go check it out. It's a good question though. Yeah, the Foxy doesn't know what he's talking about. And Kizaru is light speed. Possibly. I haven't gotten that far. Kizaru Perception Blitzed current Gear 5 Luffy from kilometers, aka thousands of times faster, literally. I did watch a clip on YouTube that did seem like Kizaru was using light powers in a more literal light way. But yeah. Did I watch Obsession? No, not yet, but I want to. It's on my list. Shinigami said bro doesn't want to know what goes on in my head. Well, maybe. It depends on what exactly you're thinking of. But if there are things you'd rather keep private, then obviously, no pressure to share. Slimy Orb says, John isn't at any of the gears, so don't spoil things. Oh, yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, I've seen clips. At this point, I've been around in people's Discords and stuff like that to know that hockey is a thing. I know that there's, like, what is it? Like, observation hockey, and then, I forget the name for it, but, like, Emperor hockey or something like that. And then I know that Luffy goes into various gear modes. I know that Luffy has like a snake mode at one point. I know about Kizaru. I know about other random things I picked up through osmosis, I guess. Obsession is a fairly thematically shallow movie with low-level messaging. Okay, Ryoman. Well, I'll see. I want to check it out anyway. Gear 5 Luffy doesn't kill the Kizaru, so that's not an issue. Okay, I gotcha. Shinigami says, one I was rejecting, but then the other from my personal trainer I accepted is because in the first one they were using bear to express political commentary rather than art. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, whatever feels safe, whatever feels comfortable. Deuteragonist is just a plot device also. I think by definition, yeah, that makes sense. Shinigami says, this is exactly why I moved from Western media to Eastern media. Also got to do my visa tomorrow, so won't be around long. Yeah, no worries, dude. I don't want to keep you up too late anyway, so please make sure to take care of what you got to take care of. Be safe, be well. It's about mail-in security. You mean the movie is? That should be interesting. Yeah, I'd be interested to see how they explore that. I deal with my own amount of mail-in security too. It's a real thing. So I think it's good that people are talking about it and making art about it. Conqueror's hockey. Okay, Conqueror's. Thank you. I appreciate the clarification there. Okay, so yes, hi cat. It's not dinner time yet. So, chapter 308, Sasuke interacts with Naruto over here. Obviously, Naruto is trying to bring him back to the village. And at this point, I think Sasuke uses a genjutsu on Naruto. It seems like it anyway, because Naruto starts to transform to Kurama. Remember we were talking before about like when Naruto's Kurama chakra is coming out more? Hi cat. Sorry, my cat is acting up. Notice that Kurama loses, like, no longer has the necklace around his neck that helps resonate with Yamato and suppress the chakra. Luca, please get out of the way. I love you so much. Okay, sorry, my cat is being difficult. Okay. Notice how he has the claws that extend, like his fingernails are turning into claws. He has the red slanted eyes and everything, or slit pupils and red eyes, and then he also has the whiskers, and he also has fangs in his teeth. So when we talk about like if he's chakra amped or whatever, when his pupils are slit, just notice that like even here he's not really like in full-on combat mode. Like he's barely even interacted with Sasuke at this point. But because his rage is coming out, the the cat is trying to team up with Noodles against me. Oh no, I'm being sabotaged by my own cat. No, but anyway, so yeah, you can see that the partial transformation is occurring, and it's more pronounced that when Naruto goes up against Kakuzu. So what we see here is there's this realm. Or what's interesting here is that Naruto on the inside, right, in his mental realm or whatever you want to call it, his eyes are blue. That's kind of interesting. On the outside, it's red, and he's more transformed. On the inside, he looks more like himself. He's hesitating. He doesn't want to use his power. A little bit of it is coming out anyway, but he doesn't want to use it. And then there's this pretty amazing panel over here where some of Kurama's chakra is like leaking out from behind the seal. Now, somebody on Reddit, I think, has posted, "Hey there, Walkie Talkie, how's it going? The king has returned." Well, I still have a few of these debates to get through, so I'm trying to keep up the pace and everything. But yeah, it's good to see you. Hope you guys are doing well. Thank you for the implicit compliment there. I appreciate it. Oh, sorry. Slimy Orb said also important thing for that scene. Sakura and Naruto are still weakened by Naruto's Four Tails rampage. Oh yeah, that's good. I think they had a little bit of a time to recover, right? But still, they probably wouldn't be at 100%. But yeah, so it's important. I think that we're seeing Kurama's chakra like bubble up and amass itself outside of the gate. That's pretty cool. But Naruto also is telling him off and telling him not to actually like he's trying to reject his chakra. Um, that being said, somebody on Reddit, I forget who, I'll have to look it up to them credit. Reddit credit. uh, sorry. Basically suggested that maybe this internal space is kind of like Kamui or kind of like Orochimaru's internal space, where when Minato created, like, set up the seal in the first place, what he did was he created like a little pocket dimension essentially, and this is actually a real space. It's not just an abstract representation of the internal workings of Naruto's mind or whatever, like, because like, Kurama chooses to manifest himself in certain ways. He chooses to show himself in certain ways. He has a conversation with Naruto, and the interpretation that this redditor came up with was that this is actually a space that people can essentially project their minds into to a certain extent. Um, that being said, he says get lost, and he's about to dispel it. But then we see Sasuke, and this is not immediately thoroughly explained as far as I can tell, but Sasuke does actually, interact with him. I can see it now, the source of your strength. His Sharingan is active, so he might be using a Genjutsu. Looks inside of him, okay? You can actually see me thanks to that abominable Sharingan, a product of your accursed bloodline. So I don't think that it's hard for me to look at this and be like, this is all just an abstract, like, metaphorical representation, since we see Sasuke appear here and Kurama acknowledges him and speaks to him directly, and also fucking Sasuke directly responds to him, right? I doubt that this dialogue is purely metaphorical, especially since Naruto is also observing it and then he responds to it, like he has his reaction to it. And then there's this exchange about Madara, and I'm pretty sure they refer to this again later on, but I don't recall for sure. He does say, "I know no such person," so he's heard of Madara. "Can't believe you're able to suppress my power." So his power is like leaking out of the seal, and you could say that this is a metaphor for the power leaking out from Naruto's seal that's like on his belly. But I don't think those two things are mutually exclusive. Like, I think that this, on the outside, the representation of what's going on the inside here is that a little bit of the power is leaking out through the seal because Kurama is like showing himself out on the other side of the bars. But that doesn't mean that this interior event is not happening. I think it is still happening. Um, and they are able to still have something of a dialogue. And it's kind of cool that this all, yeah, I think this must be Genjutsu, right? Or some, if not Genjutsu, something like that, because um, Sasuke is able to connect with Naruto despite like not actually physically being in contact. We could also talk about their meeting later on where they have that internal conversation, but first let's talk about the Orochimaru space first, which I think, yeah, let's do this. Let me catch up on chat though real quick. Naruto fell over when trying to run to Sasuke. He's in love. Yes, absolutely. That's hilarious. I'm so using that ridiculous pocket dimension against Noodles if I ever debate him. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't exactly think he's going to accept it. He has a tendency to kind of stick to his guns, so to speak. But if you're, what I would do is not necessarily, like, if I were to debate him as well, I also wouldn't be like, okay, I'm going to make my victory condition convincing him and changing his mind, right? Like, I tried that when we had our first conversation in his Discord, and it was like, what I wanted to try to accomplish there was to get him to see eye to eye with me on something we disagreed about, and obviously I was willing to change my mind if I was wrong, but like, I don't. I think it would require, within the context of a debate, I don't think that's going to work, because I think that from what I have observed of him in debates, he's probably going to like plant his feet in the ground and defend his territory, if that makes sense. So I don't think that'll make any progress. But if you're trying to, not that I need to tell you how to do this or anything, but like, I think the more examples and the more data that you are able to come with about how internal spaces in Naruto work, the better off it'll be for everybody listening because they'll learn more. Like when I talked about tried to address Sage's claims that fucking Kaguya summons an entire dimension or whatever, or that she has to move the entire universe out of the way to bring her quote unquote universe to the location that Naruto and all were fighting in. What I did or tried to do was I tried to go through the series and think of as many examples as I could of spaces being summoned or overlapping. So I don't know if you saw that stream, but one example that came up with was okay, when Jiraiya summons the Rock Toad in the hotel when Kisame and Itachi show up to try to abduct Naruto, uh, presumably that Rock Toad, like the entire toad, is still somewhere else, and presumably Jiraiya didn't rip the entire intestinal like GI tract out of that toad and murder it. So somehow he managed to just summon part of it. The GI tract of the toad is still in the toad, but the toad is somewhere else, and it's wrapping around the hotel without actually bringing the entire toad there, right? So similarly with the Gamahiro, the toad that he traps the path of pain inside of, like that entire realm is right there inside the toad. But if you walk around the toad, you pick it up, you throw it or whatever, even though you're technically throwing that entire realm, you're really just throwing the toad because the toad itself is like weirdly spatially overlapping with the space that you're in and also spatially overlapping like a Venn diagram almost with that other realm. So the logistics of it are a little bit more abstract than you would expect, but I kind of rejected Sage's hypothesis because I'm like, Naruto does explain to us, like the manga does explain to us how its spatial temporal like overlap system works. So I would say try to take that same approach, and like, that's what I'm trying to do here actually is just like go through and try to find as many examples as you can of how the series tries to educate us about this weird mechanic of like going into internal spaces. But I don't know if it's even that clear about it. I know I'm rambling a little, but let me just check one thing before I get back to chat. What the fuck is it called? Data book? 3? Okay. So let me see if I can bring up the third data book and see if it says anything about this. Because one of the things that the data books are very good at is giving plot summaries and things like that. So I think that, let me see if we can find anything. Okay. Reach out to the Power Nine-Tailed Fox. He still lacks the power to save Sasuke. Get lost. Okay. So does it actually explain what the fuck Sasuke is doing? No, I don't think so. Maybe. So one thing that I should do later on is I should try to go through here and see if there's anything, because sometimes these little plot synopses and things like that will explain the mechanics of things better than like the individual jutsu. But this is the character profile. Hang on, let me get to the fucking actual plot synopses. And I do see the messages. I'm sorry I'm not responding to them just yet, but like, okay, let's see. Ocular power. Why is the Sharingan so feared? The main reason is ocular power that can tame even the tailed beast. As Sasuke awakened the powers to Nishiha. Okay. Sasuke's ocular powers can even capture the nine-tailed fox spirit that dwells in Naruto's body. But it doesn't explain what's happening, right? Like mechanically in terms of the internal space. So yeah, this could be another good resource to look at. Here's this fucking scan that people are always like, yeah, this fucking thing. Let's see. Sealed inside his body. Okay, let's see here. The jutsu used to seal, however, there's many mysteries behind the jutsu. Okay, so this basically just says, like, it's a mysterious thing. Okay, I'll leave it at that for now, but there might be other things that we can glean from looking at the data books, you know, eventually. Just try one more thing, and then if I can't find anything, I'll get to chat, and then we'll get to the actual fucking debate in just a second. Yeah. Supreme Eye, Pain. Let's see, Nine-Tailed Beast, sealed. Yeah, it just says he's sealed inside. Doesn't really tell too much about it. Okay. Anyway, let me catch up on chat. Sorry, I rabbit holed a little bit down there. I think Sealed Biju are in a segment of the Tailed Beast psychic plane since when Naruto was trying to free Son Goku. He was in there, Seal, and freeing the others who went to the Biju plane. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that actually over here in just a second. So that's a good call out there, Orb. Shinigami says, I was at first going to say Itachi's better emotional management because he strategizes and deduces mid-fight, but at the same time, Light also puts himself in a stressful situation and can control himself really well. Not only the camera probing movement where L was watching him through 64 cameras while acting as Kira. Emotional management, assuming you can manage your emotions. There's also the bus jacking incident and the plan to kill Ray Penber with the FBI. The second one where we see Light visibly sweat at how dangerous the plan is. That's true. Like, I don't know if Itachi has that level of like multi-sensory input feat, but Pain does. I would be curious to see how you think that like Pain's intelligence maps to that in terms of his ability to Nagato to operate all the different paths of pain and the animals simultaneously. Orb said using Genjutsu, Sasuke can put himself into the segment of the plane. Yeah, like essentially projecting his mind into that space. That would make a lot of sense. Walkie-talkie says it's not about convincing him or changing his mind. It's about being ridiculous. It's the walkie-talkie way. I am now starting to I'm starting to develop a deeper appreciation for the ways of the walkie-talkie dojo, so to speak, as a JoJo's reference. The more I can get him to plant his feet, the more I get out of it. I'm not here to be reasonable. I'm here to be walkie-talkie. Well, then I think you are more than equipped to engage with the meta of this community in that case. Mad is the goal. Trolling is the dream. I wouldn't even use this to win. I'd use it to bog him down. Frustration is key. I don't need it. I get to use it. That's honestly pretty fucking hilarious. The thing that I appreciate about your guys' form of trolling versus other, like, at least it's like the way that you guys employ that is creative and funny, and for the most part it's not toxic. I mean, granted, at a certain point, like if you're in a debate, if we were to debate about something and you pulled one of the like the Sakura, what is the thing that you said to Sage, that the obsession or sorry, Hashirama being the fuck, not the strongest, peerless. Yeah, Hashirama being peerless. Sakura defining her Ino's obsession with her hair as peerless or whatever. You pull something like that on me, I'll laugh, but then I'll be like, can we just please have a fucking conversation? How the fuck did you find that anyway? Like, how did you make that connection? Because that's like some lateral thinking being employed there. It's pretty great. You are evil. You're a little bit of a what would I say, like chaotic neutral from what I can tell. It's also said that Kage summons bits of dimension, so maybe it's like taking a chunk out. Then if you try to move out of that chunk, it's like a seamless portal, even though the full dimension wasn't summoned. It still seems like it's summoned, since going out of the summoned area just leads to the rest of the dimension. Yeah, that makes sense. I think there's just like some weird dimensional fuckery going on that's not fully explained, but I like that. I like the idea that it's summoning segments of the dimensions, or maybe just creating essentially like a. So when Obito gets hit by something and his body, quote unquote, goes into Kamui, like the segment of his body goes into Kamui and is no longer intersecting with the object itself, I wonder if Kaguya is just doing that to the space around her or to the people around her, right? Like, her summoning the dimension is the equivalent, weirdly, of like Obito's Kamui dimension summoning part of his body into it. But I don't know if that makes sense. It's just like some weird kind of inverse logic. And then Shinigami says, I am convinced Nagato's an underrated Naruto genius. I would think so too, yeah. Hey there, is it Renu? I'll say Renu. Correct me if that's wrong. Naruto Lonob. Oh wait, is it? I was trying to. The auto translator is trying to translate what you're saying. Naruto Lonob. I agree. Shinigami says, act like a JoJo fan. The JoJo fandom is something that I still haven't been able to get into. I've tried genuinely, but I haven't been able to pull it off. Walkie-talkie says, I'll leave the genuine stuff to other people. I'll play my part in wearing him down. Someone has to do it. I'll stoop to his level so you don't have to. Oh yeah, thank you. You're like Sasuke. You're taking in all the hatred and starting your own walkie-talkie revolution, so other people don't have to. Well, thank you for being the sin eater of this community. Appreciate it. Renu then says, Sasuke sex Natuto and Kakashi sex Sasuke. Yeah, I have no argument to any of that. Thank you for expressing your true self. This is a safe space for free expression, so keep it up. Slimy says, that's just some Joseph Joestar levels of trolling. It makes sense, yeah. That's bizarre. It's a bizarre adventure indeed. Yes, there will be one mandatory JoJo's reference every stream at least. Okay. Anyway, so chapter 345. This is this place. Orochimaru says it's the universe inside of me. This is where the transference ritual takes place. Shall we begin? Snakes come out. We see presumably the other people that he has absorbed over the years. Quite creepy. Confrontation with Orochimaru. He seems to recall this. Those eyes, they're finally mine. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Keep going, keep going. Then we have this nice little moment of tension. Sorry, I still haven't gotten the fucking ad blocker. It's the ritual. Okay, so this is presumably like Orochimaru's physical body is on the outside, and also Sasuke's physical body is on the outside. So this is some sort of a mental space or realm or whatever that Orochimaru created. And it actually, this is actually really cool. It looks like the stakes that if I'm interpreting this correctly, the stakes that Itachi put on are these the stakes? Hang on a second. I want to go back and look at that, because it looked like the stakes that Itachi put on Orochimaru were showing up there. Although it could just be these people, but no. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They look like this. They're sort of brown in color. Yeah, yeah. So it's as if I'm living that moment all over. So it looks like these stakes either persisted or are showing up again because of his interaction with Sasuke. But I like the idea that the stakes themselves are still present in his mindscape because, like, Itachi essentially left them there. So Orochimaru created this space. It's a space that can be influenced by his own mind and by the minds of people who can interact with it, like via genjutsu. And then those stakes remain there because somebody else was fucking with his space. So now, Sasuke and he are engaging with this. Obviously, like, you could look at this as a metaphor for the transition that's happening, but I don't think it just happens like automatically. You know what I mean? I don't think that there is nothing happening whatsoever. Orochimaru clearly created this space. There's clearly an interaction between Orochimaru and Sasuke, and at least given what Orochimaru says, the way that this space is regarded, the way that it's referred to, it does seem to me like this is actually a real thing, not just a pure metaphor or a pure, like, abstract representation. It's a thing that actually exists in some way, some capacity, somewhere. How exactly that works, I'm not sure, but yeah, it does seem to actually exist. So another example of something to consider is in chapter 495. Let's see. Where does he say it? Okay, so what's interesting here is that I think this is just a one little throwaway line, but I think it's worth considering. That Killer Bee says you will be fighting Ninetales here. I think the fact that he says that is indicative that it's not like when Naruto was meditating at the waterfall. You can argue that maybe this like the dark version of himself was just like a projection of his psyche, or it was more metaphorical or something like that. Maybe he was hallucinating, or maybe there was like some sort of I don't know, genjutsu coming off of the river. Who knows how it works, right? But that being said, here he says you'll be fighting Ninetales. So that to me indicates that the fight is a little bit more realistic or tangible or something like that. But just for context, before we get into the debate, what Killer Bee says specifically here, he's talking about the type of seal that is being that was placed on Naruto. If Ninetales gets away, then they'll see him in this place. It's important to understand that, like, the big white plain space is not the same space that Naruto is fighting Kurama in, right? Okay, so they shut the door and then they do this. And now what fucking Killer Bee says is once you greet the Ninetales inside your mind, undo the seal. So inside your mind and the greeting and stuff and the conversation that takes place between the two of them, I do think that this conversation is actually taking place. It's not just an abstract metaphor or representation, because Naruto and Kurama can then, like, have conversations later on, and Kurama can also take over Naruto's body and, like, talk to other people during the war. They seem to be able to recollect and, reflect on the conversations that they've had in the past. So I don't know. I think that like if you just go through and look at every example of Naruto talking to Kurama in this space, it seems pretty clear that like this is an actual conversation that's happening. Also, Kurama seems to notice that Naruto has gotten rid of Dark Naruto. That being said, this space can have different rules than the outside world, right? And this would be in Noodle's favor actually, because Naruto, as far as I know, in the outside world at this point in the story, he can't fucking float. So there's something about this space that's probably not literally functioning the same way as the outside world, right? And also, Naruto being shoved away in here doesn't result in his body being affected on the outside. He doesn't seem to respond to it at all. So, like, if you've seen The Matrix, when Neo is like jacked into the Matrix and he gets shot with a bullet, his body starts bleeding and he starts shaking and convulsing and stuff like that. I don't think we actually see this. So, see that happen to Naruto here. So, there seems to be more of a separation between what happens in this psyche plane and the outside plane. So, I think it's totally fair to argue that the psyche plane is separated from the physical world and it has some different mechanics, functionality to it. It might not be one to one literally the same. So I think like Noodles is you know, referring to a real thing there, for lack of a better phrase. That being said, saying that it's entirely metaphorical, if that's the argument, I don't think that really works. It's also, I think, like, Naruto goes into Sage Mode on the outside, and then on the inside, he gets Sage Mode as well. That seems to be a thing that is actually happening rather than a metaphor. So I don't know. It's like it's open to interpretation, I guess. But yeah, I'm just not seeing any explicit evidence for it being purely metaphorical, and I do think it fits within the overall framework of the story more so for it to be more literal. Also, Killer Bee on the outside seems to be able to sense that Naruto is struggling. Killer Bee on the outside senses the internal struggle that Naruto has as well. Um, and then Kushina shows up, obviously. I'll just go through this really, really quickly. Um, Basically, I just want to point out that it looks like Naruto then either goes to another plane or a deeper plane, because you know the plane that he interacts with Kurama in has this. Obviously, this might just be an edition of the colored version of the manga. I'd have to check the anime, but it has this kind of like brownish, yellowish aura to it. It kind of seems, I don't know. It's like colored differently. It's represented differently. And then when Kushina shows up, it seems that they either go to a different place in the plane or a deeper plane or set, like I don't know exactly, right? If you notice that, like, um, she says you have to tame Nine Tails, okay, blah blah blah. So Kurama, sorry, so like one layer deeper, Naruto and Kushina are having this conversation, and then one layer above, she sends out the chains to wrap him up, right? And then while Naruto's physical body is sitting on the outside, his versus Kurama self is actively struggling with Kurama. And then within that, there's an additional layer where he's just sitting and chatting peacefully without straining or struggling with fucking, you know, with Kushina. So this suggests to me maybe that like this body itself does actually have some sort of physical presence. Also because these adamantine sealing chains are described as being physical, like they're made out of chakra originally, but then they're solidified. They are solid, real things, right? So I don't know. If you put all that together, it definitely feels like there is something real and tangible about the way that they're interacting. Um, so I think I'll leave it at that. Obviously, we can continue reading through this beat if you guys want to. My chakra suppressing Nine Tails won't last too much longer. It's real nice, keeping that for suffice. Rap, rap, rap. Okay, so there we go. One last thing, and then I'll get back to chat, and we'll get to the actual debate within the hour as usual. Just over here, if you want to read more about this, is chapter 572. The Biju all connect with each other on the Biju Psyche plane, and all we really hear about it is, now that we're fully linked, you'll be able to enter deeper into the Biju Psyche plane. See, there are Jinchuriki here too, blah blah blah. So you could look at this and interpret this as like the Biju themselves, when they were created, they were given access to, or like they were allowed to access or something like that, this quote unquote universe, this realm, this world, whatever you want to call it, called the Biju Psyche plane. Normally, the way that Naruto interacts with Kurama is that like Kurama just hangs out on the Biju Psyche plane all day, but he's in his little cage, and so Naruto can't really interact with any of the other Biju or anything like that. He can only see Kurama in his little cage. But then once he's connected with the other Biju, then they all can like reach across the distance and can then communicate more clearly with one another. The way I wonder if the way that it works is like if you've seen The Legend of Korra, there's a sequence where one of the characters, I think Janora, goes into the spirit world, and when she's in there, she's like looking at this distant hill, and then as she's looking at it, all of a sudden it's like right in front of her, but then she turns around and then it's like miles and miles away. Something about the logic of that space means that it's constantly shifting, and it doesn't really fit with the same rules of our reality. So things can be very close, things can be very distant, they can jump around. It really depends kind of on your perspective and how you interact with it. So I think it's something like that. I think it might not, this fucking face, have a strictly literal interpretation. Okay, so with that being said, let me catch up on chat and then we'll get right into the debate. Shinigami says, John just reminded me of people claiming Kaguya is universal because she shifts her dimensions and scales her AP. Yeah, don't even, don't even get me started on that. I'm going to lose my shit. All the evidence in the manga and anime shows her transporting Team 7. Agreed. I mean, there's one statement where Kakashi says she summoned an alternate dimension, but it's got a question mark on it, and then later on he changes his stance. People like to quote that literally, except without the question mark, and it's kind of skeevy. Let's see, because John, how do you explain why literally only Team 7 were brought to Kaguya's dimension if the whole universe supposedly shifted? Yeah, that's a good point too. I think the way that other people would try to explain it is to say that she brought the entire universe to their place and then also brought the Naruto characters that she selected into her transported universe. But then if she can just bring them into the universe anyway, why would she have to move the entire universe to that? Like, that's the thing, right? It's like, why would Kaguya need to move the entirety of the entire Naruto universe out of the way to make room for 5 planets, right? If they're on 5 or 6 planets that they fight on, wouldn't she just need to move that amount of space away? Like, why is she moving trillions of galaxies or whatever that are trillions upon trillions of light years in some instances, or maybe not trillions of light years, but whatever, millions, billions, trillions of light years away? Why is she moving them out of the way so that she can have room to fight on a few planets? It just doesn't make any sense, right? And this is the problem with literal interpretations, is that people get stuck in these traps where it's like, okay, because this is an objectively correct source, we have to accept it as being literally true. And then no matter what that means, no matter what the implications are, we have to conform the implications around that. It's the same thing with the light beams, right? It's the same exact fucking thing, which is why I got so invested in it. It literally says that Foxy's light beams are light, so they must be the speed of light. Okay, well then why is it so impressive that Luffy dodges a cannonball? Oh, well, we can't trust what they say because it was just the announcer who said that, and the announcer doesn't know what he's talking about. What about the people in the stands? Oh, well, they don't know either, so we can't take what they say seriously. Okay, well, what about the fact that there's no other mentions of any character being the speed of light or even the speed of sound specifically other than NL up until that point? Well, just because it's not mentioned doesn't mean that it's not actually the case. Okay, well, is there any evidence? Well, there doesn't have to be, right? And it's just like, we can go through the whole thing. I can go through every single feat. Like, oh, how come in just like 10 or 15 chapters later, there's this guy who is one of the carpenters who dashes across the city, and like Luffy is slack-jawed, open-mouthed, jaw on the floor, shocked at how fast he's going, but he's clearly not even like going anywhere near that fast, because if he was, like, the force he'd be generating would just be like destroying buildings and stuff, and which we do have a precedent for in this universe. Oh, well, that doesn't matter. Like, Luffy could just be surprised, right? It's like, how did Usopp manage to hit him with the pepper stars? Usopp the speed of light, or the pepper stars the speed of light? Well, Usopp wasn't really trying, right? Like, they will just come up with every possible excuse to deflect away from the point, and it's not even like dishonest or disingenuous. It's just that whatever the first piece of information is that you come across then colors the rest of the discussion. They happen to come across a statement that says this is light, its photons is the speed of light. They accept it and internalize that literally, and now everything else has to orbit around that. Sage made the same mistake. He found a statement that said Hashirama is the strongest, and he's like, oh, fuck, okay, I guess he's the strongest. Fuck, I guess he's the strongest now. And then, like, everything else had to revolve around that. He spent so much of that video debunking potential debunks to that statement, rather than just, like, going through the series and actually building up Hashirama as being the strongest. He didn't really do much scaling to like Jubidara or Jubi Obito or any of that stuff, or talk about like any of the feats really. He just addressed potential debunks because his goal or perspective was, I have to defend this particular literal statement. And that is a real problem, not just for people watching the videos or something, but it's a problem for people like Eon and Sage themselves. I empathize with that, and I say, oh shit, they're stuck in this trap because of this perspective, right? And that's not meant to be condescending. It's just like a logical trap, I guess. Anyway, Slimy Orb says Naruto forgot to fly when out of there. Maybe Sasuke put stakes on Orochimaru, and Orochimaru is remembering it. Okay, that's a fair interpretation. I like the idea of Itachi putting the stakes there and them lingering, but I don't know if there's any validity to that. 1 second. Gotta inhale. I think the Biju plane is like the shared mindscape that the Jubi had, but since it was split into the Biju, they can share it even when sealed have it sectioned off, but they can still access deeper even if sealed, but their main body is still stuck in the sectioned off area. Yeah, that's an interesting idea, for sure, for sure. Yeah, that's a good point. We could also look at Jubito and that whole sequence that happens when Naruto's trying to reach out to him. That could be valuable. Or also when Jubito is having like his psyche kind of shredded apart, right? That's a good example too. Afro Loopy was able to react, and the Afro is a light speed amp. Yeah, okay, right. And the Afro is literally a power amp, and that's not meant to be taken metaphorically or as a joke. That is literally just a power boost. That's like popping a rumble ball or whatever. Okay, so that being said, let's get started on the debate. Let's try to get through as much as we can over the next hour and a half. We're going to be starting from the 1 hour 44 minute mark. 6 is the person who uploaded the original, or he did the original stream, although Noodles also had his stream, so if you prefer, go check it out on Noodles' channel. Please give your support to 6 if you like. Watch the entire video on his channel, since I'm going to be pausing a lot. A couple of little disclaimers. 6 was also playing Elden Ring in the background, and sometimes he will talk over the debaters, so just so you know, if there's like a third voice that's interjecting in the conversation, that's probably 6. Unfortunately, I will. Unfortunately, this video was only streamed at 720p, so the footage of the game is going to look choppy. 6 on his on the actual stream itself at the time, I think was better. But yeah, that's I'm trying to represent it in the best quality possible, but it is what it is. So just so you know. Okay, gonna get started. I am gonna play it at 1.25x speed. So again, you know, not intending to cut anybody off, just trying to be aware of the time investment and the time we have left. Feel free to check out the video in context so that I don't misrepresent anything, etc., etc., etc. Disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. Everyone says the Afro made Luffy stronger, says Slimy Orb, so it has to be true. Yeah, yeah, obviously. Well, maybe it's like giving him a mental amp. Like it could be. So it's worth looking at. Okay, so let me bring up the music a little bit just so we have a little bit of background stuff. And let's go 3, 2, 1, go.
Well, why wouldn't it?
That's an argument from ignorance.
Whoa. Second. Let me pull
But
up.
you have to. You're saying the mental non-physical world scales to the physical world. I'm asking why.
Yeah, so Swag's position here is that like he thinks that the feats that like Minato engages in, for example, in the world within the spiral, you know, specifically, I think he's probably going to be referring to this, where he goes into the mental world or whatever, and then he clashes with Kurama with his Rasengan versus the Biju Bomb, right? And then Noodles' objection here is that potentially this space, basically, as far as I can tell, his tactic or his approach here is to try and be like, you can't really use this feat because you can't prove that what happens in the mental world translates directly to what happens in the outside world. So if Minato has a feat of strength and he can lift 1,000 pounds in the mental world, that doesn't necessarily mean he can lift 1,000 pounds outside. And to be fair, like we did just see Naruto float in the mental world. That doesn't mean he can do that in the outside world as well. So my personal take on this is that it is a real space. It is something that is actually happening. That being said, the jutsu that are being used in this realm require an input of chakra, and so when it comes to ninjutsu, you can still probably use that for scaling. When it comes to physical stats, though, there might be some kind of vagueness where it doesn't scale 1 to 1. I think it's at least fair to ask that question, right? So Swag would have potentially the burden of proof on demonstrating that the physical world and the non-physical worlds are like they work using the same rules. That would be contingent on his claim about Minato's scaling inside and outside would be contingent upon that being true. So Noodles is fair to challenge him on that. The thing that I disagree with Noodles on is that when he then, I think he goes one step too far and he starts arguing that, well, let me not say that he argues affirmatively that everything in the mental world is a metaphor, but we'll see. Like we'll see how it goes, right?
1 second. Let me pull up the I got a couple things I want to say about the one shot. No. Hold on. I got to.
You know, Killer B says that he's weaker in the mental world.
Wait, can you pull that up? Can you show me?
Yeah, I have it.
Oh, by the way, if you have not yet played Elden Ring and specifically the DLC Shadow of the Erdtree, 6 is playing very, very late game, so you might want to like just listen to the debate or like maximize chat or something like that in a pop-out window. I really, wouldn't want to have this spoiled. It's an amazing game. Please go play it and check it out if you're interested at all in any of the FromSoft games. I guarantee you'll get something positive out of it. But yeah, major spoilers, late game stuff. Oh, 1 second. Oh yeah. Let me let my cat out of my room 1 second. Hello. My partner just came to collect my cat because it's dinner time. Slimy Orb says the metaphor of Naruto and Kushina talking in the metaphor of Naruto fighting Kurama, right? It's metaphors. It's an onion. They're fighting inside an onion filled with metaphors. Okay, yeah, so major spoilers for Elden Ring. I think he's already beaten the final boss, but regardless, just keep that in mind.
Berber.
Skipping ahead a little while they search for scans.
Is that I want to find whatever reason. You could just say the same thing about Minato. It would be an
Wait, let me back up a little.
Pages that I want to find. So if Kurama is weaker in the mental world for whatever reason, you could just say the same thing about Minato. It would be an unquantifiable difference for both.
So you think they're both like nerfed to the same extent or something?
I don't think either of them are nerfed. No, I'm just saying they could be if one of them is. Yeah.
I don't think it's necessary that they have to be nerfed to the same extent. I think that's an assumption. But like,
Why?
let's say
Minato's the one who's only putting a part of his chakra inside of Kushina. If anything, he would be more nerfed than the
He's doing a
Nine-Tails.
seal.
The full Nine-Tails is inside of Kushina.
He's like pouring all of.
I think that's a decent point that like Kurama is sealed within, so all of his chakra would be behind the seal, right? Whereas Minato is just more sort of projecting himself into that realm. Minato's also probably, like we talked about last time, right? Just as a quick refresher, Minato just finished developing the Rasengan, and he was just training, with Jiraiya over here, and we can see that he's been training for a while. Like, he's used the Rasengan on multiple times, multiple rocks. He's literally wheezing and panting and huffing and stuff like that. He just finalizes it, and then Jiraiya leaves, and then Kushina comes out like right away, right after, right? And so then Kushina fucking whips him with the tail. He takes a gash right across the chest, and then he reinforces the seal. So presumably he's using some chakra to reinforce the seal, and then he also gets fucking impaled by Kurama, right here. Where is it? Like, so he's trying to repair the seal, and then Kurama like pushes back against it and like whips it off, whips Kushina away, and then on the outside he pushes through and like impales Minato through the stomach, and so now we have a doubly wounded version of Minato who has just spent chakra reinforcing the seal after just finishing the Rasengan, after being like winded, after training with Jiraiya for a long time over the course of the day, and despite that, he makes a Biju Bomb or a Rasengan that clashes with the Biju Bomb. Now, one thing to note though is that in the realm here, in the physical, in the fucking mental realm, he's not wounded, right? He doesn't look like he's like dirty and disheveled and messed up. He doesn't have a wound coming out of his back. We can't really see his front very well, but it doesn't look like he's wounded there, at least as far as I can tell. So his inner mental self does not have all of the same um, attributes as the external self. That I think is fair to say. But given that, regardless if it's in the mental realm or not, like creating a Rasengan is still going to require chakra. So I think arguing that the strength of the Rasengan inside this realm being relative to outside, I think that would probably make sense. I mean, probably makes sense. It's weird though. They're an enigma wrapped in a mystery, wrapped in a thing to be put on Rum. I like that. Minato's nerve sense. B said he was weaker in Naruto's plane. That could be. Last page of chapter 496. Let's see. 496. Thank you for the reference. Okay. I'm not seeing it. Could you please double check the chapter, or is it after when he grabs it? Yeah, sorry, I might be missing it. Last page of 496. Adina. This is the last. Oh, here, up here, up here. Sorry. I want to help you fight, but stuck in your head, I got no mic. Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All of his chakra.
He put all of it. You said like, did he put all of his chakra inside of Kushina? Because then
there you go,
a
Swag.
lot in there to try and help.
Yeah, a lot, and all of them aren't the same thing.
I'm not meaning all in literally every ounce.
Yeah, so he didn't put as much of his chakra inside of the seal as the nine. Yeah, but he didn't put as much of his chakra inside the seal as there is the nine tails.
Before you try to jump on the gotcha, let me get into actually why this doesn't scale. There's so many reasons why. I have like five. Literally, I have like 5 reasons why this.
Okay, yeah. Sure. Let's
so firstly, the Nine Tails is getting nerfed by Kushina on a pure chakra plane with the chains. You understand that, right?
Wait, sorry, what did you say?
Right. So this is something that's like a consistent gripe that I have with Noodles' approach. Noodles, if you're listening, or just in general, right? Like, you don't have to invent terms like pure chakra plane, or at the very least, let me rephrase that and just say, like, if you say something like this is a pure chakra plane, that's a positive claim in and of itself, and now you are describing something with a forward I don't know, like assertion, right? As far as I can tell, just reading through the series, I never see anybody describe the Biju Saikri plane as a pure chakra plane. So if you're going to volunteer that description, that comes with, if Swag had actually capitalized on this, that would come with the opportunity for your opponent to jump in and be like, okay, prove that. Give me a definition of that. Give me a scan of that. And at least in my research, I couldn't find any evidence that it is a pure chakra plane. It's a mental plane, but think about what the term pure chakra plane would even mean. How do you make a plane out of pure chakra? Is everybody in there purely chakra? Like, I don't know. We just tried earlier in the stream, like up to this point, to try to figure out how the shit works. I don't think inserting a term like that really adequately represents it or is a sufficient explanation. It's pretty similar to me to saying like perfect Jinchuriki. Like, I know what people mean when they say perfect Jinchuriki, but unfortunately the term that is really kind of reserved for Killer Bee and Naruto winds up then getting warped into like this weird like tier of being a Biju or Jinchuriki that I don't think is representative. I think it leads to a lot of confusion. It's just unfortunate. So I would just caution anyone getting involved in this sort of the debate or discussion style thing. Just be careful about using terms like Kurama Avatar or perfect Jinchuriki or pure chakra or whatever, because those terms, or even like diamond armor, right? Like these terms do actually mean things, and they can kind of, or you know what? One of my favorite ones is the fucking chaotic Shinra Tensei. I hate that shit more than any other term, including Tsukiyome. The chaotic Shinra Tensei thing is so fucking annoying. There's nothing chaotic about it. It's not more chaotic than a regular Shinra Tensei. It's not a separate jutsu, but people treat it like a second jutsu. They think it's a second thing. It's different from the main Shinra Tensei because some fucking person in the community decided to call it the chaotic Shinra Tensei, and then everybody just thought of it as a second jutsu. It's why it's very important to get your terms right and to treat them like with accuracy, for lack of a better term. Shinigami says, "Holy self glaze." What's the self glaze you're referring to? Slime Europe says it's a weird pseudo physical mental plane. Yeah. And also if you think about it, part one Gara, since he could do partial transformation, the sign of a perfect Jinchuriki. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like this weird, like you could apply the term perfect Jinchuriki to almost like at least half of the Jinchuriki, depending on how you define it. Which is why I think it's important to just like understand that it's coming from the fourth data book and it's in description of the fucking of Killer Bee specifically, right? Chaotic Shinra Tensei is just a Shinra Tensei, but more. It is literally just a Shinra Tensei. It has more chakra behind it than a regular, a quote unquote regular one. That like the one that you know, the ones that fucking Pain uses against Kakashi, but it is the same jutsu. It's sort of the difference between like a Rasengan or an Odama Rasengan. Although the Odama Rasengan does actually get called out with its own name, it is literally just the same jutsu with more chakra behind it, right? So I understand the need for like wanting to differentiate it in a if you want to write an article for like a wiki and you'd rather not just put the big Shinra Tensei or the mega Shinra Tensei, like you want a term to specifically refer to the one that leveled the village, I get it, but it has led to a lot of confusion, and that can be a major side effect of things like this. I thought of 5 different spots. Oh, yeah, I gotcha. 5 ways to getting better friends. Oof. Slimy Orb says, we heard you like Shinra Tensei, so we added more Shinra Tensei to your Shinra Tensei. Exactly. Just like, you know, it's Shinra Tenseis all the way down.
Kushina is nerfing the Nine Tails on a pure chakra plane. She's suppressing the Nine Tails. Yes, it stated that her chains suppress the Nine Tails.
Can you prove that it makes him weaker, or that it just suppresses?
Suppression could be suppression of chakra.
It could be suppression of movement,
because
so
they're
you
on a
can't prove
chakra
that
plane. She's in context referring to the Nine Tails chakra. Like, and when she says this,
yeah. So, those are definitely positive claims that Swag could challenge. I don't think that Noodles succeeds in substantiating those claims. Yes, they can suppress her, or suppress Kurama, but as to what suppress means, I think Noodles is trying to like shift the definition of suppress to mean suppressing his chakra, so that like if Kurama could fire off a Biju bomb with like 100 points of energy, then when he gets physically wrapped up in Kushina's chains, then he only gets to fire one that's like 50 points of energy or something like that. Like it's it's reducing his total chakra output, but I don't think that's how it works. I think it just literally holds him in place. So he's being restrained physically, and you could argue that that's a form of suppression, but I think Noodles is smearing the definitions and trying to get away with being like, okay, since he's suppressed in this way physically, then he might be suppressed in this other way in terms of attenuating his chakra output. I don't think that really works. That's why I could push him on that. Slimy Orb says, I would have probably called it Shinra Tensei Max Output. Yeah. That is like maybe a little clunkier. It doesn't sound as cool or whatever, but it avoids confusion. It's more elegant in that regard.
She literally is just some chakra inside of Naruto.
Yeah, but can you
Minato put a little bit of her chakra inside of Naruto, and then while they're on the chakra plane in their chakra bodies, her chains wrap around the Nine Tails chakra.
Can you post the scan for this?
Yes. Also, I sent the oh, wait, no.
So now I understand a bit better what he's saying. It's like, if Kushina herself is only chakra, then that makes, like, I can see why he then got to the determination that the whole space itself is chakra, but you could also just be like a pure chakra being within a physical space. So like I get it. It's just not quite sufficient, right? In the anime it said that it changed suppressed chakra, but I don't remember if the manga ever says it does. I'd love to see that quote from the anime if you can track it down, because I feel like I've heard people go back and forth about this a lot, and so I'd love to know the full context for this. Can we Shinra Tensei or Shinra Tensei for the Shinra Tensei? I think you'd have to ask the Shinra Tensei if the Shinra Tensei could Shinra Tensei a Tensei that's Shinra'd, but I digress.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Post it on the chat.
So, I say while Noodles is posting all this evidence, let's not make any new arguments.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, good idea.
I'll wait. I'll be quiet. Well, that's why I was being quiet while I was looking for the pages, because I didn't want to start talking and get distracted.
Episode 408. Okay, I'll make a note of that. Thank you.
I want to help you fight, but stuck in your head, I ain't got no might.
Yeah, it's the thing you were talking about. Or
That's the scale of the physical world. Also.
Well, I mean,
show you
that's
the
he's,
picture.
Wait,
he's not
no,
skilled
no,
in-
no.
Let me grab those scans.
No, come on, Six. You just told us we both can't do it, then he did it.
He didn't make a new argument. He just said what he already
Well, I'm
said.
responding to his original argument. That's all I'm doing.
I mean, come on, bro.
All right, and you think that sure, if I broke the rules, then that's my fault. I'll be
I don't know where that sound effect came from. I'm guessing that 6 has a soundboard or something.
What chapter does Kushina fight?
Thank you, Orb. I appreciate it.
Well, I better be more specific. When does KCM train happen? When
I'm
does-
going to skip ahead a little bit because I think
That,
they're just
proves what I
fighting
was
the
talking
skins.
about, but I won't post it while I wait for Noodles to post.
Post it in the data book to restrict both movement and chakra. So
Yeah, but it doesn't
It just
inherently-
because
What's wrong with y'all? Stop.
I fucking hate Noodles. That's what's wrong with me. I fucking hate him.
I pre-dogged his ass and then preemptively slammed him. I'm sorry.
No, you didn't.
It's just annoying. Listen to this, honestly.
Being,
20.
yeah, closer to 20.
You better hurry up. It's the Nine Tails is what she specifically states.
Yeah, let's see.
It's just being suppressed.
The Nine Tails movement in the fight where he's
Yeah,
moving
but,
to
like,
fight
where are they
Naruto.
at?
No,
Like,
this
on-
is ass, bro. I waited like 15.
Yeah.
Okay, wait 1 second. Let me go back.
Alright, here, I found it.
Here we go. Okay.
Yeah.
It better not
What does that
be
mean?
like-
The Nine Tails just can't move.
Suppressing
Doesn't
the
mean
Nine
that his
Tails
chakra
in
is being-
context. They're on a chakra plane, so what's being suppressed?
The Nine Tails movement in the fight where he's
Yeah,
moving
but,
to
like,
fight
where are they
Naruto.
at?
No,
Like,
this
on-
is ass, bro. I waited like 15
Yeah,
minutes
what
for
is she
this.
talking
This
about in
sucks.
context, though?
She's talking
What's the now? Oh yeah, his chant. Yeah, instead of the no, it's no.
about suppressing the Nine Tails' movement.
What is Kushina right now?
Inside of the
I see Noodle's argument. He's saying that since fucking Kushina is made of chakra, that like Kurama would also need to be made of chakra, and so it's suppressing his chakra because he is chakra. Like I get it, but also I think maybe a better way to phrase it is like chakra output versus chakra movement, which Swag is trying to say, and I think succeeding in saying, like, you can have a lump of chakra that you can hold in place, and just holding it in place doesn't mean that that would prevent it from then branching off in terms of like firing a Biju bomb at full strength, right? They're two different things. What's young? I don't know that one.
point.
Shinigami.
What is she, though? Like, what did Minato seal inside of Naruto that allows Kushina to appear in his mental realm?
What does that mean?
Get like don't. I'm getting tongue tied. Let's wait.
What is she? Answer the
Yeah, I
question.
know
Stop being
she's
evasive.
chocolate.
Oh yeah, what I wanted to say is that like fucking Swag shouldn't answer that question. Noodle should make positive claims himself and not like bait Swag into answering hypotheticals
Bro, what does that mean?
or rhetoricals.
Okay, she's chakra, right? That means her chains are also chakra on the chakra plane.
Yeah, but not all chakra interacts with other
This
chakra. Like,
is
if Shigori
ass
doesn't
from
pierce
Noodles.
you
This
and
is
then
ass.
just, like,
But
fuck up
they're-
your
Hey,
like,
Sage
chakra.
didn't duck anybody, by the way.
You see how Naruto has that little like blub next to him? You see that? That's because they're like on this weird chakra plane. They're not in the real world. So this is a visual representation of the chakra tug of war. That's
Yeah, but can you show me her?
Oh yeah, okay. So now he has actually put forward. What's the question? I think I got lost. Sorry, I think I lost my train of thought there. What? I don't know what you mean, Slimy. I apologize. So yeah, now Noodles does actually make the positive claim that this is just a representation of the chakra tug of war. I'll tell you this: the chakra tug of war is a representation of the chakra tug of war, right? Like, fucking Naruto has to fight against Kurama sufficiently to be able to weaken him enough to then, like, so he physically grabs him and all that stuff. Then once he's done that, then he grabs his chakra and then pulls it out, which is what we're actually seeing on part of that on screen, right? So he has to fight him before he begins the tug of war. Noodles is arguing positively, like affirmatively, that the tug of war that all of this, everything that's happening, is the tug of war, right? So he's arguing that the fight that leads up to the tug of war and the tug of war are all actually the tug of war. Since he's made that positive claim, he inherits a burden of proof on that, and I don't think that there is any evidence to support that, and I don't think that he actually sufficiently demonstrated that over the course of his debate. So at the moment, I have Swag winning that point, or at the very least, Noodles not winning that point. Yeah, you can ask a question. Go ahead, Shinigami.
You're saying that she's suppressing his chakra and making him weaker, or that she's
don't
suppressing
think
his
I have
movement?
to
No,
do that. All
you
I
have
to
to.
do is establish
You got to
that
make
it's
some
possible and
shit up,
reasonable.
man. This is
No,
what I
have to
waited
establish
for.
that it's reasonable, because as long as it's possible that the ceiling chains are doing what
Noodles,
you
this
do.
point is garbage. You just
No,
wasted
it's not.
so
It's
much
not garbage.
time.
You
No,
just
this
don't
is
understand it.
terrible, bro.
It's okay.
This
Just
is the
stop talking for a
debunk
second.
I was waiting
Talking.
for. Go ahead.
Anyway, what I was going to say is that this is basically just the same thing that all sealing jutsu do. They restrict your movement and they restrict your chakra flow. They specifically say during these chapters that the reason she was selected as a Jinchuriki was because she has very powerful chakra. What does that imply?
Parker.
That implies that you need extremely strong chakra to control strong chakra, right? In order to control the chakra of the Bijum. So if she needs strong chakra to be a suitable Jinchuriki, that means her chakra has to be able to contain the Nine Tails and be able to stop it from going on rampages and stuff. That's what it's in context to. They state that it never ran on a rampage her entire life.
Yeah, but I mean, like, the thing that's actually holding the chakra inside of her is the seal. I don't know if she herself actually put that seal there. If she did, though, it's like, yes, she has to be strong and resilient, and she has to resist the temptations, but it's the sealing jutsu itself that's sustaining Kurama. Like, that's important to know. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Hey there, Bargos. How you doing? It's good to see you. Not much. We're just trying to make our way through the rest of the debate tonight. Hope you're doing well. Bro won't play along. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Sorry, Shinigami. Slammy said, okay, the subs on the episode I have access to says that Orochimaru says the chains can even bind a massive chakra. Okay, so I can definitely see where that take is coming from, why people think it's suppressing chakra, right? That makes sense. But I think they think that since it's a sealing jutsu, it is also like absorbing, reducing, hiding, attenuating chakra, something like that. And I don't think there's evidence for that personally. You skimmed through it and something might have been missed. No, remember the seal was already being destroyed and she left a little extra seal and then Minato had to fix the seal. Let's take a look. Yeah, I know he had to like reinforce it, right? Right. Because like, okay, so what I was saying that I don't think that she put the seal on herself to keep Kurama in place, but I do think that like she had to resist his temptation and his working against the seal over time. And I think that there is a moment where we actually see one of the chains or the rods that's impaled Kurama like break off and disintegrate or something like that. New vessel, I can feel it, your fear, your reservations, I can free you. So yeah, so where are we? If I can find it real quick. So also over here, right, her quote-unquote sealing jutsu, yes, plenty of sealing jutsu do actually bind chakra, but over here, as far as I can tell, the sealing jutsu is just like physically restraining them. I can't unravel it, right? They're like physically struggling against it. Let's see. So here Kurama has all these chains. Oh, right up here. I'm the only one who can free you for those who did this to you. Right, and so we actually see one of the chains snapping. And then she kind of like grasps her head. So maybe she does actually have to use her own power to keep the chains reinforced and something like that. I'm not sure. That could very well be the case though. Shinigami said, I basically asked if I can ask a question, which is a question. So I gotcha. I didn't. That totally flew over my head. But yes, you are allowed to ask the question about whether or not you can ask a question, as long as I can answer whether or not I can answer your question. It was a seal on Kushina, and she had to be in the seal increasing zone of the leaf. Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's important context. Barkos also said he also never proved that all sealing jutsu restrain both chakra and movement. Yep, that's a good point. Making a universal claim like that, meaning, or a global claim is another way to put it, in the context of a debate is a very risky maneuver, to say the least, because then it's much harder to demonstrate, to fulfill your burden of proof on a claim that encompasses all members of a data set.
This
So that
is
means
so
she can stop the
ass.
chakra from leaking out and things like that, right? So her chakra can control the Ninetales chakra.
That's a separate
And that
sealing
totally makes
jutsu,
sense in
though, bro. This
context
is fanfic.
because this is a chakra tug of war.
No, now I
Minato
feel like I'm
is
getting
sealing
shotgunned.
jutsu.
Use it. No, wait, hold on. You said that she can use her chakra to suppress the Ninetales. That's
God damn it! Now I want waffle Shinigami. I have a waffle maker downstairs somewhere. I might actually bust it out and make some waffles for dinner after this.
a different
Wait, hold on.
sealing jutsu.
Let's apply the shotgun the same way Noodles did. I actually kind of like that. That way everyone can get their train of thought properly. When he gets done, ask for all the evidence, and anything that can't be
Okay.
shown will just move past.
Help him 2 more steps.
Okay.
Here you go. Just like last time.
I just.
Oh, come
we're
on,
running out of
come on,
time,
come
but
on.
I can do that. It's just that we're running out of time.
We're running out of time.
Yeah.
Well, we can end it here if you want.
No,
You don't gotta spend no more time with me. If you
No,
want to
I
stay,
just-
I'll stay over. I don't care how
I'm
long.
just
this
trying to
goes.
reply. No, it's okay. You can keep going. I'm not gonna Batman anybody. I'll listen to the mods here.
Okay. The point, all I'm making, is that every time these mental realm feats happen,
Yeah.
they're literally on a chakra plane. They're manifesting as chakra.
Yeah.
Like in the instance of Minato, they're doing like in the physical world. What's happening is Minato's doing a sealing jutsu, and then on the mental world, we get this like
Appreciate the team
visual
spot, that's
representation of like a
cheating,
fight.
man.
that's
Take
going
that shit
on.
back.
In my opinion,
Appreciate the
this
20
is a
gifted,
visual
Middle Fury.
representation of the sealing jutsu that's
Hella
going
members
on
this
in the
stream.
real
Hella
world.
members.
So does the sealing jutsu suddenly scale to Minato's physical stats because there's like this visual representation of what's happening, like the chakra?
Wait,
structure?
wait. What sealing jutsu? Are you talking about the seal?
Tetragram seal.
Are you talking about
Like-
the tetragram seal he used to put inside? Put himself inside of Kushina to fight the
Do you
Ninetales?
remember the Hashirama
You've
statement?
given more than enough,
Yeah,
Middle
I
Fury.
do. The great
Thank you.
Hashirama
Lightning of the
statement that says he's
tetragram
of the
seal in that
caliber of the
instance,
first
and then
Hokage,
it
yeah.
goes inside of the mental realm, and it's like the chakras fighting each other. That's a representation of the struggle of the sealing jutsu, trying to seal away the Ninetales chakra.
Yeah, so now I think this is a mistake. I think Noodles putting this forward as a positive claim that it is a just a representation is bad, because I think you can very clearly demonstrate. Well, first of all, if you make that as a positive claim, then you have to demonstrate that the mechanics of this like fictional thing actually fit the description that you've given it. So what Noodles has inherited now is the burden of proof of demonstrating that this is how this works. And to my analysis thus far, I don't think he's done that. And I think it's going to be very, very difficult to do that, especially when there's a precedent in the series that people can project themselves into mental spaces literally, even though the spaces are mental, right? The fact that there is like think of it like a dream, right? Like imagine somebody created you know what, maybe this would have been a good example, the limited Tsukuyomi from the fucking movie, right? The Road to Ninja. Obito creates this this sort of mini world thing that people can hop inside of, and then he can go in and out of it when he wants to. And it's really created for Naruto, but he lets Sakura get caught up in it as well. And then even though the dream version of Sakura from within that world is conjured by a dream, she can still like go out into the real world for a little while before she fades away, right? So like there are plenty of examples like the ones we discussed, and more that I'm probably not thinking of people being able to literally enter mental realms, even if they're only entering it with their mind and not their physical body. So Noodles is kind of trying to dual wield here, so to speak. And in one hand, he has a sword that is actually functional, and that is the idea that these spaces are not necessarily the same as exterior physical spaces, and so the rules might be different. And then the other one is just a baguette that kind of looks like a sword, and not the cool one like from Expedition 33, just like a loaf of bread that he thinks is a weapon. And he's like, this literally is just a metaphor, and that is not going to help him at all. That's not something I think he can win on. Slimy Orb says, also when messing around in the wiki, there was a character in a game that used Tsukuyomi on the moon to make a pseudo-infinite Tsukuyomi effect. Oh, that's cool. Do you remember... Oh, are you talking about Nanashi from the fucking Road to Ninja... Not Road to Ninja. Boruto X Naruto Storm Connections? That... I remember she did something like that with her... with the VR headsets, and then I think there was a secondary thing later where she was using the limited Tsukuyomi, her version of it, to erase people's memories or something like that.
Chakra. It's not a real fucking fight.
Yeah, okay, cool. That's a good reference too.
It's literally a sealing jutsu going on. Just like the chakra tug of war is also not a real fight.
C6,
It's
this is
literally
ass. I don't want to ask for evidence.
And so here's the thing also, even if it is a chakra tug of war, even if that were to be the case, Swag could potentially counter that by saying, okay, well, how does a chakra tug of war work, right? Like, isn't the strength of one person's ability to tug in a tug of war determined by, say, the strength of their chakra? At the end of the day, even if you reduce it all to, like, if you say all the visuals that there are just an abstract metaphorical representation of the chakra tug of war, that just implies that the chakra tug of war itself is actually happening. And in order for somebody to win a tug of war, they would need to have more strength than the opponent. So it's not exactly a dead end there either.
For all this shit, I just want to respond to all of this. This is ads.
Respond.
The fucking Kushina shit about her being in like a chakra plane or whatever, and her being strong enough to like suppress the Nine Tails, meaning her chains suppress the Nine Tails' chakra and make him weaker, is fanfic. Doesn't say that. The data book says her chains restrict movement.
It's not suppressing his chakra then?
No, but you're making the affirmative claim that it does, so you have to prove that it does. Otherwise, it's
Yep, 100%.
full power. No. I think you talked for like 50 billion years. Please. Okay, so you have to prove the affirmative.
Slimy says, and also Naruto has to separate his chakra out of his body to do the tug of war since his physical body can't interact with chakra. Interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting point too.
Claim that you made that they do suppress the Nine Tails' chakra. Otherwise, this is a full power Nine Tails fighting against a equal to or less than full power Minato, because as you yourself admitted, he didn't put all of his chakra into the seal. Meanwhile, the full Nine Tails is sealed inside of Kushina. He could just be having his movements restricted. And since there is nothing that you've shown that proves otherwise, we can move forward assuming that Minato slammed his Rasengan as a teenager into a tailed beast bomb launched by the full power Nine Tails. All that other shit you said was either fanfic or irrelevant.
I do think that Swag is kind of on point with that overall, but I will say I don't know that that really helps him, because he would still need to scale the fucking tailed beast bomb, and all we really know is that it's like hovering in midair and getting ready to fire. I don't know exactly how you're going to calc the amount of force that it takes, or not even calc, just like how you're going to put into practical terms, or how you're going to scale the amount of force that it takes to just push that ball. Like, how dense is it? How heavy is it? How do you use that practically? I don't know.
That was ass.
It's just very clearly what's happening. You just don't understand the context. I mean, it's just a reading comprehension issue.
I guess it's a reading
I think that's kind of rude.
Very clearly what's happening. You just don't understand the context. I mean, it's just a reading comprehension issue.
I guess it's a reading comprehension issue for me, man. Yeah.
Okay,
Why,
so are we?
specifically?
Okay, you can explain. Okay, cool.
Hold on. Let me explain why this is like, I've already proved that it's talking.
Third to last page of 496 has B say that only chakra can be captured with chakra, thus showing it isn't a pure chakra plane unless chakra has its own chakra. Yeah, just like the Shinra Tensei that has a Tensei in the Shinra, I think the chakra is, they put the chalk in the Ra so that the Ra could Ra with the chalk in the chalk, so that the chakra has chakra in the chakra. I think that is the most sensible thing to come out of this debate, honestly.
About the Nine Tails chakra, like they're on a chakra plane.
You
They're
didn't.
fighting the Nine Tails chakra in the context of a chakra tug of war. These are things that are happening. Like, when you see Jubito later in the war arc and they do the chakra tug of war on him, what's happening? Like, what's actually happening?
That has nothing to do with what's going on here, though.
No, it does, because the Nine Tails says it's the same thing as before, referring to the
Yeah, and it's the same thing as Naruto's chakra tug of war with the Nine Tails, not the entire fight between Naruto and the Nine Tails.
Listen,
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. That's like saying that tug of, so that would be like saying the conversation that Obito and Naruto had inside of Obito's chakra plane or whatever didn't happen, and it was just a metaphor. Like, no, they clearly had that conversation. It would be like saying the conversation that Naruto and Sasuke have when they bump fists, that didn't happen either. That was just a metaphor. And I don't know, maybe you could argue that that's just like a representation for the viewers of how shinobi exchange thoughts and read each other's minds with the bump of a fist. I don't know. It seems like a lot of pretty complex back and forth, complex dialogue to be taking place purely metaphorically. Hey there, Spicy Boy, how's it going? Thanks for checking out the stream. Spicy Boy says, oh, I made it to a John the Maven stream for the first time, and it's on a debate I saw. Oh, you were in the debate as well? That's cool. I would be curious to hear your thoughts about it. Let me know what you think, if you think anybody, if Swag or Noodles had a clear advantage or not. But yeah, appreciate you hanging out with us. Shinigami says, chakra the chakra with the chakra. We did the cha-cha chakra, or the chakra cha-cha, rather. Oh my god. Say that 5 times fast.
yeah, but the fight represents the chakra tug of war. That's what I'm saying.
No, the
Like,
chakra
they're on a
tug of war
chakra
that
planet.
actually
He says
happens
this is
is what
the exact
represents
same
the
as before.
chakra
And
tug
what
of
do
war.
they do in the physical world? In the physical world, they literally grab Jubito's chakra and
Yeah,
pull
like
it out of his body.
Naruto grabs the Nine Tails
So
chakra.
what
That's
proves
what's being
this fight
compared
is
here. That's
even
obvious.
actually
No, this
fucking
point is
happening?
terrible. This point sucks.
Okay, what proves the fight's even happening?
Sorry, what?
So as irritating as it might be to be on the receiving end of that, I think phrasing it that way is more fair and more useful in terms of a debate context, right? Like, all Noodles has to say here is, okay, this exchange is happening in a like the chaotic chakra tensei. Yes, let me. The So this fight with Minato and Kurama is happening inside a physical, in a non-physical space or in a mental space, whatever. So you, Swag, if you want to use this as part of your scaling, you need to demonstrate that what happens inside this realm is equivalent in terms of like scaling potential to what happens outside. In other words, you need to demonstrate that what Minato does here, he could do in the outside world. Put the burden of proof on Swag, since that would be contingent, like his claim getting through is contingent on that anyway. And then Noodles wouldn't need to then volunteer all this stuff about this is positively a metaphor, right? Because I don't think he can satisfy his burden of proof on that claim. Chakra TTT, chakra TTTT, chakra TTTT. Oh my god, I feel like a parrot that is fixating on a word that's he's trying to learn it. You ever see when parrots are like trying to learn a new word, they just kind of babble and they try to like figure it out? I feel like that's what we're doing together as a chat this evening. Spicy Boy says, I will say not to delay it more since this is part 3. I think this point ended up being subtly Swag's best section, because it forced Minato to Nine Tails comparable, whereas Noodles got Kakuzu to just Two Tail. Yeah, that's something that we talked about previously. I don't know if you've seen the first couple of streams, but my opinion was that Noodles, even if I were to agree with his scaling to, like, getting Kakuzu scaling to the Two Tails, that's kind of where the scaling chain ended, right? Like, he didn't actually then say, like, and Six called this out too in his video. It's like, okay, Noodles, quote unquote, got Kakuzu to Biju level. What does Biju level mean? How does that relate to Minato? Like, he didn't finish the scaling chain. I think the way that Noodles approached this was to say, okay, I'm going to see how high I can get my character, and then Swag will need to get his character at least as high. But, I mean, like, when you're on the affirmative, right, if I'm arguing for like Orochimaru over Kisame, like, my goal is not to just get Orochimaru as high as possible. It's specifically to say, here is why Orochimaru beats Kisame. And then you would have to demonstrate why Kisame beats Orochimaru if you were going up against me, right? Like, each person has to complete their chain, their syllogism, or whatever you want to call it. And I don't think Noodles did that. I don't know if Swag has done that fully yet either. I forget, but yeah. Spicy Boy says, I can divulge more, but I think Swag did well in this section, but could have capitalized better. Yeah, I think that's a fair take. Obviously, in the heat of the moment, it's hard. Yeah, that's something that I think is worth me acknowledging. I try to mention this pretty consistently, but I don't think I've said it tonight. Is it like, I'm in a pretty privileged position listening back to this. Like, I listened to it at the time it was happening, and I got a chance to listen back to it since then, and now we're doing it again together as a group, and I have y'all's input as well, and we can take our time and look up scans. So I can't guarantee by any means that I would have done better if I were in Swag's position, for example. I think I'd like to say I would have made better arguments than Noodles. I'm not a big fan of the ways that he approaches argumentation, but it's tough, and it's especially tough when you have literally over 500 fucking people watching you. Like, I get pretty self-conscious on stream, let alone with hundreds of people just shit-talking you the entire time you say anything. So, yeah, I want to acknowledge that this kind of public performance carries with it a certain amount of, there's something to be said for that, at least. Slimy Orb says Biju level is from Gamabunta to the... it's Biju level to Kaguya. Or Gamabunta to Kaguya. Is Noodles hoping his characters are on more drugs than his opponents? Maybe. I think that would get into like more of a Momoshiki style argument where we get into like character doping.
What did you say?
What proves the fight is actually happening, and it's not
This
just
is some like wild fucking skepticism, bro. Like, we watched
this is so
basic fucking
ass.
reading comprehension. This is you not
Okay, no, come on. This is ass. You
is so
couldn't answer
ass.
what it means for Minato and Naruto to be compared earlier. You were like, shit, I just wish I could like fucking rub my fucking skin against Hishimoto's and read his mind, but I can't. And then when you're seeing a literal fight happen, you're like, it's not really a fight. This is basic reading comprehension. You're just dumb to get it. Like, this sucks, bro.
World, you're literally saying that Genjutsu world scales to the physical world in a way. You're saying this like fucking mental scape, this like psychic.
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to, but if anything, Minato will be weaker than the Nine Tails comparatively.
Okay, so if you agree,
this is so without picking sides here, so to speak. I do think that this is an instance of where debating can sometimes like happen at the expense of, you want to say, reading comprehension, at the expense of understanding the context of the story that's happening, right? Because like if they weren't competing with each other, they could just stop. They could be like, okay, you know what? Let's take a 5-minute ceasefire or something, and let's just go read this together and see if we can figure it out. Like, this is the sort of thing where I think a debate is kind of antithetical to genuinely understanding things in context. It doesn't have to be, but oftentimes it is. And this was my critique of the Itachi versus Pain debate as well. Spicy Boy says, has the debate already covered the Rasen Shuriken argument? Because I think that part was annoying. Yeah. I think we reviewed that last time about like the Minato's quote unquote the Rasen Shuriken quote unquote surpassing Minato. I very much disagreed with the idea that the one jutsu that Naruto had somehow surpassed the entirety of Minato as a person and as a shinobi. It was a very silly argument. Hey there, Karibo says, accidentally fell asleep after eating. Oh, hey, if you're tired, make sure to get some rest. But yeah, hope you had a good meal. Noodles, what is the proof you rejected my job application? Yeah. Noodles loving his characters. Oh yeah, I see what you mean. Slimy says, okay, watch the important part of episode 408. It's at least implied that it suppresses chakra since the chain hurt liquefied Suigetsu to knock him out. Okay, that's important context for sure. I appreciate you sharing that. It's pretty wide and broad, the Bijuu level. Yeah, I mean, I think it's like Kage level, right? Like, obviously, it's a different scope, but you could definitely argue that the term Kage level incorporates it implies a minimum amount of power to get into that tier, but it's also pretty vague in terms of the range of characters that fit into that tier once you get up to that level, right? Shinigami says Noodles. I don't know about that. That seems a little odd. Spicy Boy says the joy of debating is in its sport IMO. I can win an argument that evolution isn't real, not because I'm correct, but actually because I argued it better. If you want better points, discussion is better. Yeah, so I'm kind of torn about this. Personally, this is me, right? It's not saying anybody else has to agree to this, but like, personally, I think that debates should be about trying to reconcile differences of opinion and determine what the best ideas are and help spread those ideas to a wider audience. But also, it can be fun to take up positions that you don't necessarily agree with, or even just like take underdog positions or whatever, because like for the purposes of testing your own skills and just exploring arguments, right? Like that does have value in terms of like training people to be better at argumentation and stuff like that. So I don't think that I'm starting to warm up a little bit to the value of the competitive aspect of things. I chafe at the idea sometimes, or the fact that sometimes the competitive aspect overwhelms the understanding in this community in particular.
It doesn't have to scale to the physical.
Like, not to again, not to get political or anything like that, but like, imagine that you're watching a debate between two people. Like, I'll use like Ken Ham versus Bill Nye as an example, right? Like, there are people who will watch that, and Ken Ham will be speaking directly to them to try to convince them and persuade them, regardless of any of the information that Bill puts forward, that like scientists cannot be trusted, and here is why: science is fake and gay, to use Candace Owens' phrase, and this is why you shouldn't believe in it, and this guy next to me is a fucking idiot, right? Like, his goal when he showed up there is not to like genuinely explore the topic, as far as I can tell, and like be open to changing his mind and like then broadcast the best possible idea to everybody. He was there to try to make his opponent look bad and to try to make his position look better, and to try to broadcast that to as many people as possible to sway them. And I don't like that as much, which is not to say that if you believe that something is true that you can't share that with people. I mean, obviously, if he genuinely believes what he believes, he's doing society a favor, or like he's doing a social service by like educating people, like benefit of the doubt, okay, but at the same time, that's, I don't feel like that was what was accomplished. I don't feel like there was a genuine sense of learning and understanding between the two of them as a result of that. Let's see. One Smart says the current Shinju Jura has also called himself a Biju, but we know the invisible cap of Biju level. Yeah, it wouldn't include him. That makes sense. That makes sense because it's or you mean that he would just be like far in excess of that? Slimy Orb says, I think Kage level should be split into generations because Hashirama and Rasa are both Kage level, but it shouldn't be that big of a gap. Oh, yeah. That's a very good point, right? Like, yeah, Hashirama is almost approaching, like, Sage 6 past level characters, honestly. Or, like Jubi, Ten Tails Jubi level characters, arguably, right? So maybe we need another tier for those.
Then you have no proof Minato actually scales to the Nine Tails in the physical world.
No, that's not true. Because,
okay, so
like you said, no. Let me finish. Like you said, it's a world of chakra. Ninja used chakra to fight. Okay, all the Nine Tails chakra is in the chakra world. Less than all of Minato's chakra is in the chakra world. Also, Naruto fighting against the Nine Tails using like real jutsu that he's created instead of just doing the tug of war the whole time. Like making all these shadow clones, the Sage Art Mega Barrage, throwing a Rasen Shuriken at him implies that this is like a real, like, like actual like task that he has to do. He has to prove that he's worthy of the power of the Nine Tails by defeating the Nine Tails. And I think by saying that this is less than literal, you're making the story a lot worse by taking away that victory from Naruto. So I think that it's very, very similar.
Okay, listen, let me ask you this. So you think Naruto scales to the Nine Tails when he fights him in the KCM training, right?
Well, he doesn't like straight up beat the Nine Tails though, right? Like he immobilizes the Nine Tails. Kushina helps him immobilize the Nine Tails, then he does the chakra tug of war. This is like saying that, Naruto scales to Judy.
You said I was taking some.
Yeah, I think that's all pretty valid. I will say that I think if Naruto fought the Nine Tails outside, that and Kushina was there and Killer Bee was there for a second, that the fight probably would have gone exactly the same. I think so. But the one thing I'm not sure about though is how like durability and actually I'm not sure now, because now that we've seen that Minato can be wounded on the outside but not wounded on the inside, I do wonder, like, if Kurama were to get the advantage over Naruto and like impale him with a claw in the mental world, would he just like get kicked out of the mental world and back to the physical world? Like basically his projection into the astral plane would just get kicked out, kind of like getting kicked out of the Matrix, right? But like if he gets impaled in the real world, then he's fucked. So I don't know. I think the fight still would have gone down basically the same, but there are probably other variables that would affect things in the outside world that might have changed things as well. So I'm not sure.
Something away.
Oh, Slimy Orb says maybe have it be like Kage, a village Kage level, like Hokage level versus Tsuchikage level. Oh yeah, that could work too. Yeah.
From Naruto, what was I taking away from Naruto?
The fact that he, like he's given the task of defeating the Nine Tails to, it's kind of like taming it, right, in order to earn the right to use its power. I think that if you say that that's just like a figurative thing,
that way.
Yeah, no, you're saying that it's not like a real fight.
Chakra was specifically powerful enough to control the Jinchuriki's chakra, but he needed Kushina's help too.
So why was this shown to us through a fight? Like, this is such a weird, like, skeptic. Like, I really don't get it. I know. I was about to say I don't get this, but I know.
Yeah,
I actually do get what you're going for here, because this is the only way that you can discredit this very blatant Minato feat.
Okay, like,
I don't actually think that the feat for Minato is all that blatant. I would more say, I think it might have been more interesting to hear Swag talk about how Minato interacts with Kurama in the real world during the village assault with Obito and all that, because there they are actually engaging with each other in the physical sense, and Minato doesn't really do all that much against Kurama in the Whirl and the Spiral, right? That's as identifiable. Like, you could look at something like Minato nullifying the the Nine Tails Biju Bomb by teleporting away, and say, okay, that all of that happened in the real world. So he can, even if he can't like physically clash with it, he can still counter Biju Bombs for real, for sure, right? And I think that's after he beats Obito, right? So, yeah. I don't know why they didn't talk about that. Maybe they talk about it later. Oh, Shinigami has to go to bed. Shinigami says, "All right, gotta go to sleep to see if I'm gonna get my visa." The interview. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good luck. I hope everything goes well. Thanks for hanging out. Have a good night.
What I'm trying to explain to you is that like a visual representation is something that conveys a message of some sort, right?
Yeah.
So like if I showcase a dream world of some sort, just like this, and this in like this very instance, and I'm showing like, oh, a fight's happening in the dream world, right? That can just represent the struggle of what's actually going on, the chakra tug of war. It doesn't have to actually be that they're physically fighting each other. It doesn't have to be that, because that's explicitly not what's happening. They're fighting each other on the mental world. This is a power struggle between Naruto's chakra and the Nine Tails chakra. That's what B directly describes the chakra tug of war as. That's why, like, Naruto, he's not even fucking moving in the physical world. So everything that's happening is completely internal. It doesn't scale outside of the internal mental realm.
Yeah, I think that's maybe where Noodles is stumbling a little bit. The fact that it is internal doesn't mean it's metaphorical or non-literal. I think he's kind of like blending those two things, and that's where his argument's falling apart a little bit. Oops, sorry, I hit the mic. Slimy says, I think the context of the feat is more important than the feat itself. Minato was tired from training, got a hole in him. Yeah. A chakra poisoning. Oh, I didn't even think about the chakra poisoning. That's true. And he only puts a small amount of chakra in there. Yeah, that's a very good point too.
They're specifically stated weaker.
But Kishimoto drew it as a fight.
This is not necessarily a physical fight that's actually going down.
No.
This could easily
why Kishimoto draw it as a physical fight?
Spicy Boy says, in the theatrical world, or theoretical world, or the ethereal world, they talked about Nine Tails attack Minato. You can make some good stuff for Minato's physical strength, which would then carry over to the Rasengan above his physical. That makes sense, I think. Yeah. I mean, I think that Swag kind of touched on it a little bit by saying that, if it is a chakra competition between the two of them, like, the jutsu is going to be made out of chakra anyway. So that could potentially scale back out to the real world. But I think Noodle's objection, like, the approach he's trying to take is that, like, none of that actually happened. Like, the only thing that happened was that there was a chakra tug of war. And everything that we see is just basically Kishimoto painting us an abstract picture of something that didn't literally happen, and I don't think he can really substantiate that. In terms of, like, literary analysis or whatever, if you want to have that interpretation, that's fine. I mean, like, art is open to interpretation. There's nothing wrong with interpreting things in a non-literal way, I guess. I don't agree with the interpretation, but you're welcome to it. But within the context of a debate, I just don't think that you can really substantiate that. And I don't think it explains things as well or is as context sensitive as just accepting that the fight is happening in a mental realm, but is still happening in some capacity. Slimy says, also chakra has been used to have fights in mental planes. Itachi using Tsukuyomi and Sasuke to have a fight. Yeah, that's a good point too, right? And, like, Zetsu saying that Sasuke breaking out of it, out of the Tsukuyomi, was actually a battle that was that was a reflection of Sasuke's skill, I think, is relevant there. I guess what you could say, though, is that when they have the Genjutsu exchange beforehand, and, there's, like, stabbing through the chair or whatever, you know what I'm talking about, right? That didn't literally happen in the outside world, and so it's all just like an illusion or whatever. But there is still a clash happening between the two of them, but that isn't actually on a psyche plane in the same way, right? That's just them fooling each other with visual hallucinations, essentially. So it's a little bit different, I think.
I feel like what he's trying to convey,
like, they didn't physically go into a Tsukuyomi that they were then fucking around with at that point, right? They were exchanging genjutsu back and forth.
Just like the sealing jutsu that Minato.
No, I know. You're repeating yourself at this point. I heard what you said. Let me respond.
Jutsu fucking scales to his physical.
Oh my god. Okay, so
boys, chill one at a time.
Yeah, sure, that's fine. I'll wait till Noodles is done.
I was just saying, like, his sealing jutsu, like, this is equivocal to the Minato situation because they're not actually fighting the Nine Tails. What are they doing? They're trying to seal the Nine Tails chakra. So he's doing the sealing jutsu, and when he Rasengans him, there's, like, this weird fucking statement afterwards that, like, Minato successfully sealed the Nine Tails, right? Him and Kushina did it. So they both sealed the Nine Tails in that instant. So Minato's Rasengan is just a visual representation of his chakra and his tetragram seal working and sealing the Nine Tails.
Can I respond?
Bro, this is so fucking ass.
It's totally a dream world fucking feat. It doesn't have to scale to the real world.
Like, this is...
But it's not a dream world.
You're assuming it does. That's the problem.
All right, let's Swag respond.
Yeah.
I feel like there's no reason to show it as a fight then. Also, so the statement that you're referring to about them sealing the Nine Tails after the fact, this is able to happen because Minato incapacitated the Ninetales. Now, we
Nigga said,
don't
keep your
see
commentary
exactly
out.
what
Nigga, go
happened,
listen on
but the
Noodles channel,
Ninetales
then,
was
bitch ass
strong
nigga.
enough that it started rampaging. Kushina's ability to reinforce the seal, not with the chains, but with something else, was started diminishing. Minato had to go in there, overpower the Ninetales, or at least do something to it. And we see, he's pushing the Ninetales back with the Rasengan. That way, Kushina can seal it. So there's some form of, relativity going on there. I think that it would be.
I guess so. I guess you could say that, like, regardless of, okay, if you want to talk about a tug of war, right? A physical clash where you're pushing against each other with energy, almost like a beam struggle in a Dragon Ball game or something like that. That's kind of the opposite of a tug of war, right? Or like the photo negative, where it's like an arm wrestling thing. And you can argue that the amount of force behind Minato clashing with the Biju Bomb must have been superior to the amount of force that Kurama had in generating the Biju Bomb. And even if you're not incorporating the explosion of the Biju Bomb into your calc, there's still a arm wrestling match, tug of war, beam struggle, something like that happening between them, and Minato won that. So that is potentially something you can use. Slimy Orb said no, after the sending Genjutsu back and forth, Itachi and Tsukuyomi, then they fought a bit in there. Yeah, sorry. You're absolutely right. I was trying to say that, like, I was trying to draw the distinction between those two things, but you are right. There is a part where they do go into the Tsukuyomi and clash there, and then before that, there's the sort of standard Genjutsu back and forth exchange. Orb says, I'm just saying that the fight can be a real thing that's happening, and since it's probably in a part of the Biju plane, they don't have to be able to be controlled by either of them. Yeah. I think I understand where you're coming from. I think that makes sense. Spicy says, thinking about it, Minato digging his heels in to stop Kurama's hand movement with a claw, and his body is better. Hang on a second. Digging his heels in to stop Kurama's hand movement with a claw, and his body is better than Kakuzu getting smacked in the ground by Manatabi, so it would have been good to use. That is true. That would have been worth bringing up too. Especially since Kurama should scale above Manatabi anyway, right? That might be worth bringing up. Kakuzu destroys Minato. The contrarian has returned. Feel free to make your case if you think so, but let's just say I don't necessarily agree. He does have he has better raw durability.
Really weird for this to be a I don't like or respect the idea that this is a metaphorical battle at all. I think that Kishimoto would have just drawn a tug of war between Naruto and the Ninetales, and then between Minato and the Ninetales.
That would be visually interesting, though.
I mean, it wouldn't be as visually interesting, but I also think it's really, really confusing to have Naruto fight the Ninetales and then expect everybody to intuitively pick up that he's not actually fighting the Ninetales. I mean, again, I just think it's so much more rewarding to you as a viewer too, that Naruto has to use his whole arsenal. He has to Shadow Clone Sage Mode, Rasengan, Giant Rasengan, the Rasen Shuriken in order to overwhelm, outsmart, beat the Ninetales in a fight. In order to prove that, without the power of the Ninetales, he's come far enough to tame it on his own, and he's worthy of controlling it. Which,
yeah, I think that all makes sense. I think that's a better, just in terms of reading comprehension and literary analysis. I think that's a better analysis.
Carries over then to Minato doing the same thing. And
Kakuzu has better durability when chakra isn't involved, but Minato, being that guy, can probably amp durability like he can with speed. That might be the case. I think that a lot of Kakuzu's durability hype or whatever comes specifically from Diamond Morph, though, which, yeah, I don't know that he has great base durability feats. I almost look at the fact that he was able to block sorry, I got something stuck in my throat. I think that the fact that he was able to, you could look at the fact that he was able to block Maratabi's paw, and not, if you agree that he didn't take any damage from that, as like more of an anti-feat for Maratabi and Yugito than a feat for him, if that makes sense. I mean, it's kind of both anyway, but yeah.
And just blowing.
The silly thing is that if you agree that Kakuzu is a shrewd, experienced shinobi, and you agree with the third databook statement that he can like instantly size up and analyze the threat value of somebody, he thought that like sealing up his, like he used the Diamond Morph ability on his hand to protect himself against a paper bomb. He used it on his entire body to protect against Choji's human juggernaut, spiked human juggernaut. So it's like, and he didn't use it on, on Yukito. So one way to interpret that is that he just didn't think that Yukito was as threatening to him with Maratabi's big squishy paw as a kunai with a paper bomb on it. So
Back a tail beast bomb.
take that as you will.
Something that Naruto never actually did, by the way. He was only fighting half the Nine Tails. Just blowing back a tailed beast bomb with a base level Rasengan. We can move on to speed, by the way, if you
What's
want.
funny about this is, it's like, you're talking about Naruto blowing back a tailed beast bomb with a Rasengan and stuff like that. So Naruto, in this world, in your logic, would have some scaling to the Nine Tails, right? Just like Minato does?
Yeah.
Okay. How is it then that in the real world, when Casey and Naruto, like a Naruto that comes later, by the way, gets absolutely violated by the version 2 Jinchuriki, and it takes half the Nine Tails that instantly body them
They're
all and
amped.
saves his
Oh
life?
my god.
They're amped and he's tired.
I know, but the
He doesn't
Nine
get
Tails fights the
violated,
same
and also,
Bijuu
and
that are
also,
actually
it
a
also,
stronger
also,
form.
it's a 6 against 2. There are so many counterexamples for this. Can we just move on to
I
speed?
know, but the Nine Tails also went 6v2, and he dominated all of them casually. You wouldn't say
Yeah,
that
when
Casey and
Naruto, well, no.
Huh?
Naruto and the Nine Tails.
I'm not gonna like go on a whole tangent about that fight because it would take a long time to go over all the details. But basically, my reaction to this within the context of a debate is, again, maybe spend less time asking rhetorical questions and just, if you have a counter, just be prepared to bring the evidence forward. And instead of being like, yeah, well, why did this happen? Let me tell you, oh, you know what else happened? Like, instead of phrasing it that way, be like, okay, I see your point, but now let's look at this page, let's look at this feat, and you see why that doesn't work, right? Like, actually examine the things in context, because I think there's a certain Dunning-Kruger-esque effect where when people know a lot about something, sometimes they forget what they don't know, and they can rely too much on their memories of things that fade over time. And so I think both the debaters are trying to some extent to not waste each other's time too much by like digging up every single fucking scan under the sun. But at the same time, there's a lot of context that might be being missed. And Swag is trying to bring some of that up by being like, it was a 6v2, Naruto was tired. He says they were amped. I know some people don't agree. Maybe I won't even agree necessarily that Obito was amping the Jinchuriki, but they did have Rinnegan and Sharingan. They were fighting in a coordinated way. They were Edo Tensei, so they had infinitely replenishing stamina and health, quote unquote. So the dynamics of that fight, I see what Noodles is trying to say, but I don't think it's a one-to-one comparison. And also, going into KCM2 mode isn't just like Kurama going full Kurama mode, like now it's just him, unfettered or whatever, unleashed. It's a new form of fusion between himself and Naruto, and it's their powers combined. It's not like Kurama just shows up and Kurama himself swats away all the Bijuu bombs. It's a Kurama and Naruto form a new form of fusion, and together, through their collaboration, they overcome their opponents, right? Very, very different. Really important context. I did wind up going on a rant anyway. Let's see. Slimy Orb says, I mean, like, take a guy without chakra training like a big buff guy like Kakuzu could be compared to versus a guy as scrawny as Minato. They have different durability, but Minato can amplify it more. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, like, they're different, like, they have different base physicals, regardless of chakra. Yeah, and Kakuzu has, like, the weird anatomy with Jongu and all that stuff, too. That's worth acknowledging. Spicy Boy says you can make an argument he's more durable than his own attacks because his physicals are relative to Hedon, and Hedon took 0 damage from pressure damage, which is a base durability argument. Yeah, Hedon is weird though because of his like Jashin hacks, I guess you could call him. Swag calls them that. So he's a bit of a weird edge case, but I see where you're coming from there. Slimy Orb says it's the version 2 Jinchuriki amped by being the Pats of Obito. Yeah, I think we talked about this like a long time ago, but I think the idea that the Edo Jinchuriki have like bonus chakra from Obito flowing through them that makes them stronger, I don't agree with that interpretation, but I agree that Obito is controlling them. They are all basically like bloodlusted, you know, because they're in like attack mode. By controlling, I mean Obito is giving them commands. He's also handling the amount of chakra that's coming out of the Geto statue into them, so they don't have to like fight with or contend with their Bijuu at all. Like they're essentially quote unquote perfect Jinchuriki in the sense that like Obito is just making their Bijuu transformations happen at will seamlessly, and is manually turning on like whether or not they're in like one tail mode or V2 or like full on Biju mode, you know, etc. etc. And then the other buffs that they get from being Edos and having like the two different ocular implants, there's a lot of additional context and additional variables that they have for sure. Slimy says it's the version 2 Jin. Yeah, they all had Sharingan, shared vision. Yep. Better access to their Biju abilities since Obito. Yeah. Okay, sorry. I think you already got to all the stuff I was saying. I just caught up. They might also have more Biju chakra since Obito can be like, hey, give the Edo Tensei more of your chakra. Yeah, that's an interesting point too. Yep. At the very least, I think we can absolutely agree that it's a very thoroughly different context of that fight, if that makes sense.
Together win 6v2, and we know
Naruto
that
said he's out of chakra.
Jinchuriki are stronger than the tailed beasts on their own.
Naruto directly says he's out of chakra, like he's about to die, and the Nine Tails gives him a fist bump, and then he's like, here we go, now we're gonna fight. And so they
Yeah, here we go.
fucking go into the Biju avatar. Like every single bit of the power that's in this fight is coming from the Nine Tails.
No, but that's not
completely
why
ran
it's
out of his
said
base
that. That's
chakra.
not why it's not said that like, oh, they pull their chakra.
Disagree with that. I think the Nine Tails revitalizes Naruto. And then Naruto is able to, so like it's almost like Kurama gives him like a health potion with some of his chakra, but then when Naruto has that, so I can see semantically how Noodles got to that conclusion, but I think it's still like the fusion of the two of them that winds up producing the V2 form, or the KCM2 form that winds up being stronger.
Chakra together or whatever, because tailed beasts are always said to have way more chakra than their Jinchuriki usually. It's because of the fact that Jinchuriki are able to use the power with like more finesse and stuff.
What?
Yeah, hold on. I want to find the state. We might just have to move on though, because there's like 5 minutes left, and I wanted to get on to speed for a second.
We honestly, like, I don't think speed even matters.
I think it does. No, you gotta. There's one thing you gotta let me say.
I said it before. I'll say it again. The idea that speed doesn't matter in a Minato debate is fucking ridiculous.
You gotta let me say it, bro. You gotta let me say it. There's one speed thing.
Say it. Go ahead.
All right. So I have a scan here. Now you can go ahead and convince the chat. You know, Choji over Minato if you want, but Choji successfully intercepts Kakuzu's hearts.
Is that what?
Choji successfully intercepts an attack from Kakuzu's hearts.
Okay, who says I'm even using Kakuzu's hearts? I think Kakuzu in base would want Minato's ass.
No, his hearts generally scale to him. His hearts are what give him the tendril abilities that make Kakashi say he's fast.
Is that Noodle saying that Minato is faster than
So
Kakuzu?
his hearts scale to him because his hearts again give him.
For one, how do you know his tendril abilities come from the hearts and he doesn't already have tendrils that just cover the
He's trying to ignore it, bro. Oh my god, this. Okay, whatever. We can just.
I'm addressing your comment. Like, how do you know his tendrils aren't? I mean, it's all like a part of his.
So you think that base Kakuzu?
I mean, I do think that that's fair to ask, but it would have been better phrased just saying like the tendrils come from Junggu. Like that's the ability that gives him that. Yeah.
Is so much faster than his hearts, which
No, I don't.
Like Junggu, just in case anybody doesn't know, Junggu is the ability. It's also called Earth Grudge Fear, and that's Kakuzu's Hijutsu, his hidden/forbidden technique. That gives him access to the slimy, wormy tentacle things, and also lets him store the hearts, and also lets him store the hearts like either in his body as masks or send them out as like autonomous little drones or whatever you're gonna call them, like his own like summons essentially, and fight for him. That's all coming from the Junggu ability. So him saying speed doesn't matter was a silver bullet. That was a crazy choice. Yeah, that was that was interesting. That was an interesting choice for sure. Kakuzu can fight the fourth Raikage since speed doesn't matter. Yeah. No, he can. He can just like fight against any number of speedsters, including speedsters who can literally teleport directly to him with a seal that is placed directly on him. Like, yeah, it's very silly.
No. Let me finish. You
Kakuzu,
think?
like,
I'm asking what you're. I'm asking.
And like, Swag isn't 100% accurate with what he's describing here. But yeah, Choji and Ino and Shikamaru were all able to get away from some of Kakuzu's jutsu, right? So like, the literal fucking teleporting guy who was said by the fourth Raikage to be the other fastest person in the entire shinobi world, I think he should be able to be faster than Choji. like come on. So again, if you want to actually scale Kakuzu over Minato, you're going to need to identify what Kakuzu is going to be able to do to actually hit Minato and defeat him, and that's going to be either taijutsu or ninjutsu, right? Since he doesn't really have any genjutsu that we're aware of. So What the fuck is he gonna do exactly? How is he gonna hit him if he can't hit Choji with his jutsu? Is he gonna hit him with his physicals? Okay, well, how is he gonna outspeed Minato to get to him? Slimy says Kakuzu has tendrils, but they aren't as big. When he doesn't separate his hearts, then refuse with them. Don't know where the extra strings come from. I think they are part of the Jangu Jutsu, if I understand correctly. I missed what you said about KCM again. Notice me, Bird Senpai. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed it. Let me look. Oh, I see another message. Here, it's a Kurama Susanoo made by Naruto and Kurama's chakra. Yeah. I like that interpretation. I like that. Sorry, yeah, now I'm seeing it now. Yeah, I missed that. My bad. Thank you for reminding me. I appreciate it.
What your position is here. Let me finish. You think base Kakuzu is so much faster than his hearts, which he separates from his body to send after his opponents to fight them, that Choji can intercept them.
I don't think their travel speed is really relevant.
He can fight Minato.
I don't think their travel.
This is attack
Minato's not going to be able to use Flying Thunder God against Kakuzu because he's going to blow up the battlefield immediately, incinerate all the trees, and burn all the seals.
What the fuck?
So he's not even going to be able to use Flying Thunder God. So if we're talking about who's
I mean, does he think that he needs a tree to use Flying Thunder God? That's very silly.
relegated to travel speed, it's actually going to be Minato.
Okay. You're completely dodging the Choji thing, by the way. You're completely dodging the Choji thing. You're completely dodging the Choji thing.
I don't need to argue he's fast or something like that. That's what you're not understanding, Swag.
I mean, like, he gets jumped by a shadow possession. He gets jumped by like a shadow possession, slow down, he gone. He gets jumped by a shadow possession, slow down, he gone. He's barely able to dodge Yamato's wood style.
Why did that shit still go off?
Huh?
Hidan self-admits he's the slowest in the Akatsuki, so he's slower than
and Kakuzu does avoid him, so, I mean, that's consistent, but he's barely able to avoid him.
I don't care how fast Kakuzu is. It doesn't matter how fast Kakuzu is. Kakuzu in base is strong enough to tank Biju attacks. What is Minato's...
Well, no, we didn't agree on that.
Oh, okay, I'm not here to ask for your agreements. I know what I proved. So what I'm saying is, I think base Kakuzu has already been shown to be strong enough to tank a Biju attack. You tried to say he scales to the Nine Tails and this and that. We had a whole argument about him, whether or not he scales to the Nine Tails. I don't think you justified shit. Yeah, in fact, Minato gets hurt by a building level attack and gets one shot by the Nine Tails fingernail. Like every fucking time that in the physical world, when Minato's actually encountering the Nine Tails, he's getting one shot by him. You know, he's like actually getting his chest blown out consistently.
Yeah, again, like, we could delve into this, but this is the sort of thing where I think Swag should have just been like, okay, scans, show me evidence for all this, let's look at it, because it's not just a matter of satisfying the burden of proof, although that is very important. It's also a matter of looking at this in context, right? Noodles comes forward and says, fucking, he gets one shot by the claw from Kurama. Okay, what exactly do we mean by one shot? Because this is after Minato negated the Biju Bomb, right, with the summoning jutsu, or the sealing jutsu. This is after he fights and defeats Obito. He's been doing other shit, right? So, like, does it really count as a one shot in the traditional sense if he's not, like, at full power? He was blown up or whatever by the paper bombs, I think, that were used as a trap for, like, against Naruto, and he did get the splinter in his shin. So, like, he has already been wounded, which means that the shot that he takes from Kurama isn't the only shot that he takes over the course of that fight, right? So it's like, there are a lot of individual things that Noodles is shotgunning out here that are opportunities for Swag to challenge him and point out that, like, that there's a lot of omitted context. Just leave it at that. Spicy Boy says, oh wait, hang on a second. Slimy says Kakashi was able to fight Kakuzu in his hearts while protecting Team 10, and Minato is far faster than Kakashi. Something that I think Kakashi would absolutely agree with. And also, you know, there's that statement from Tobi Rama, of all fucking people. Tobi Rama saying that Minato is, like, better at Shunshin than him. And we could get into the whole, oh, that's travel speed versus combat speed, blah, blah, blah. But it is the speed at which Minato can move. Like, he can move faster than Tobi Rama over a large distance. And so, yeah, he should be able to apply that in context to navigate around Kakuzu. Like, I don't see why that wouldn't be applicable to combat as well. Spicy says, sorry if this is said during stream 1 or 2. Hey, no worries, I don't mind going over stuff. How well did you think Noodles argued against physical durability? Because if I was a judge and Noodles made a more convincing argument on raw durability, then that's bad. So if I remember correctly, his point was that Kakuzu's durability scaled to the Biju and he basically was like, Yugito hit him with a paw, and he didn't take any damage. He no-sold it, and therefore he scales to Biju level. My issue with that is that, okay, so like personally, as a casual viewer of the series or whatever, I don't have a problem with the idea that Kakuzu wasn't hurt by that paw swipe. But in a debate, if you're going to make a positive claim that no damage was taken, you would need to demonstrate that. And the fact is that we have a huge amount of time, or let's just say an unspecified amount of time, that the camera like cuts away from that fight and then cuts back afterwards. So we don't know how much damage Kakuzu really took. We don't know for a fact that he didn't use like Diamond Morph on his feet or on his chest or anything like that. Again, I don't have a problem as a casual reader with the idea that Kakuzu no-sold that attack. But if you're making the positive claim in a debate that Kakuzu did not use Diamond Morph and he did not take any damage, that was a burden that Noodles failed to substantiate. Really, we just don't see him take damage, and there's a difference. It's essentially like an argument from ignorance that he's employing there. And then I think he tried to say that like he tanked a fireball from Yugito. I think that was kind of thrown out there, but not super delved into. And in previous debates, I don't think he got to it in this debate, but like in his debate with Apollo, he said that Kakuzu is probably not fast enough to evade a Biju Bomb, so he probably tanked it, and Kakuzu probably thinks that a Biju Bomb counts as a physical attack, and he does say that physical attacks can't hurt him. So there's a lot of probablys stacked on to this statement from Kakuzu within in the context of a separate fight that then doesn't take into account all of the instances where Kakuzu does activate Diamond Morph against certain attacks like Raido's Ebony Blade and the fucking Fire Temple Door and the Paper Bone Kunai and stuff like that. There's just a lot of context that didn't get evaluated in terms of when Kakuzu does seem to want to turn on his durability enhancing abilities and why that might be. So I don't think he succeeded in proving that Kakuzu out durabilities the Two Tails. I also don't think that he really provided any real scaling for the Two Tails paw swipe AP anyway, beyond vaguely mentioning that Yugito later on hurt KCM1 Naruto, which wasn't scaled or quantified. So really, that whole argument just didn't go anywhere. It was a sketch that was never fully drawn in, if that makes any sense. Slimy says Minato was able to cut a large chunk of a Gyuki tentacle with a kunai. That's a good point too, yep. And also Kushina said she was going to kill Kurama, and it's probably true that Minato could too if he wanted to, but didn't want to. Minato. So yeah, Sage of Thick Calves made the argument that Minato actually could have beaten Kurama, but he let himself die along with Kushina. So that's, I don't know if I agree with that 100%, but that would be useful context to go over, like why did Minato... Did Minato potentially let himself lose to Kurama after a certain point? Minato is one of the people who were said to use Body Flicker during combat, yep. And also Tobirama says that Minato is quick at striking since he placed the kunai before the other Kage got there too. Yeah, keep in mind that not only did he get to the battlefield overall before the rest of the Kage, right? He got there soon enough to see that the Ten Tails Biju Bomb was gonna explode. He found a location to teleport it to, put his kunai there, and then like teleported the Biju Bomb away, and then got back to the battlefield in time to like aura farm and say brace for an impending explosion. Before, like, all of that happened before the other Kage showed up, right? So he's a quick boy.
So he doesn't like physically scaled in the Nine Tails in any capacity. So yeah, he just doesn't have anything.
I mean, we watch
level.
him blow back a tail despawn, but yeah.
Yeah, you mean the sealing jutsu that's going off? Yeah, the sealing
jutsu where he sealed less of his chakra inside of the chakra.
You don't even know how much chakra was inside of it. It's an assumption.
Yeah, but it's less than all of it. We know this because he can't put all of his chakra inside of Kushina.
It doesn't matter how less than all of it is. It could be most of it. So he could.
Yeah, but it's still less than all of it. And all of the Nine Tails chakra is
like
inside
a different
of
tier or
Kushina.
something.
So
and all this is establishing is that he has a sealing jutsu, bro. Like he can seal like half the Nine Tails with the help of the strongest sealing jutsu in the entire village at the time, Kushina. Someone that he says is stronger than him, by the way. Kushina is stronger than Minato at that time.
Well,
So do you think like child Kushina is stronger than the Nine Tails too?
Minato's just being humble. Also, well, he's not.
No, he's not.
About child Kushina there.
Also, like, I don't believe that fucking Noodles actually thinks that like Kushina is beating Minato in a fight just because he said that, right? Like, come on.
Prove that he's being humble and that he's not being honest.
He just has a habit of being humble.
habit of being humble. So what? That's just circular. I'm asking you to prove he's being humble.
Because he's stronger than.
Yeah, so I think like this is a bit of a trap for Swag. Like he doesn't need. Swag would have been better off being like, okay, Noodles, you are interpreting this literally. Please demonstrate why your literal interpretation here is correct, as opposed to Minato just in character being nice to Kushina or something like that, right? Like, he could have framed it as like, okay, there are other ways to interpret this. You're saying that your interpretation is better, so you prove it. And I think he kind of fell for the trap.
Than Kushina. Like,
What proves he's stronger if he self-admits he's weaker?
well, this is a circular.
Well, I mean, like that, yeah, so it's not stated hyper literally, but like Noodles did basically say they're like, to paraphrase what he said, I am taking the approach that this is meant to be interpreted literally. I am advocating for this to be interpreted literally. So Swag could be like, okay, we'll demonstrate that a literal interpretation is the best one, right? Was Minato going out of the way to go somewhere in the ocean, place a kunai, then go to the battlefield and teleport the Jubi's tail beast bomb and place the kunai before the other Kage? I think we're kind of saying the same thing. I just think that he did that. I don't think he did it preemptively. I think he did it after seeing the Biju bomb and reacting to it. So I think it's a more impressive speed feat, personally. I think Kushina is stronger, but Minato is better at combat and has more offensive abilities. I disagree, but to be fair, we don't really see Kushina in combat all that much, so I don't even know. It's possible, but the way I interpreted that is more about like Kushina's resilience and strength as a person. Like there are different ways to be strong. I don't think that he was necessarily saying that Kushina could like whoop his ass necessarily, but Minato is humble, isn't that good of a sage, is a perfect sage. Yeah, that's a good point, right? So to be fair, Swag also made that positive claim, and Noodles could challenge him on that claim. So I'm like, okay, if I were in Swag's position, what would I do? I wouldn't even get myself. I would try to not get myself in that position in the first place, if that makes sense. Spicy says, this right here he could use as a chance to refute the getting one shot while counter-arguing and mentioning what I said about Minato's strength, so there was a moment he could have capitalized. Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of things, bunch of instances across the debate where I think both interlocutors just missed a lot of opportunities. And I think on the one hand, that's sort of refreshing in that they were kind of bantering in a more casual way, and sometimes that can be nice, but then inevitably it gets down to this nitty-gritty, so to speak, and it's like, okay, if you haven't laid the groundwork, then things just kind of wind up fizzling out, if that makes any sense.
Argument, actually.
This is a contradiction on your part. He literally self-admits he's weaker.
Also, even if Kushina, first of all, even if he is, no, see, now you're talking to me, I'm trying to respond, you're not letting me, I'm trying to respond, you're not letting me. Even if he is weaker than Kushina, doesn't help you at all. I would just say Kushina is also stronger than Kakuzu. Second of all, he does have a habit of being humble. It looks like we're out of time, so whatever. It's okay, yeah, keep going. It looks like we're out of time, so whatever.
It's so funny how you like tried to get a gotcha with the Choji thing. I just steel-manned it, said he doesn't have to be fast.
No, you didn't, bro. You just completely ignored it. You just completely ignored it. You were like,
it's kind of hard to hear what they're saying. This is a lot nicer, says Spicy, than the Batman versus 6. Not a high bar, but better. Yeah, that is fair. That is fair. It's also a lot nicer than. Did you hear the one Noodles did against Jay a month or two ago? That one got fucking intense.
Well, that doesn't matter because that's not Kakuzu's real speed.
All right, I'm going to ask you one more question. This is the final question I'm going to ask you. Do you have any evidence that this dream world scales to the physical world? Like any scans?
Well, like you said,
that's really all he needed to say.
It's like a chakra world, right? And people are, people are putting their chakra inside of the chakra world. There's also like the statement that,
Does that establish?
Well, ninja are powered by their chakra, right?
Yeah, but they also have physical stats.
Yeah, but they're powered by their. I mean, again, like Naruto's using physical attacks. I feel like it's really evident.
Okay, so
like Noodles. Do you have any evidence? Do you have any evidence that Naruto, the events of Naruto aren't like Hinata's dream? That any of it really happened in verse?
No, Swag.
Any scans? Any statements? I don't understand the relevance.
I'm just saying it's like an equivalent question. Like just because I can't prove it doesn't mean it's not self-evident. Naruto fights Kurama. They do.
I don't know why 6 is that mad about that. I think that's a relatively effective reductio ad absurdum there, because like people have argued that maybe the entirety of Naruto takes place. It's basically like Naruto's infinite Tsukuyomi dream. Like he's just living out his perfect ascension to being Hokage and the savior and everything, but um, it never really resolves, or it never really happens in reality, right? That is actually an interpretation that you are allowed to have, in the same way that like you're allowed to believe that Jar Jar Binks is a Sith Lord. Like there is some evidence for that. Is it relevant to this debate? Well, I think that what he's trying to point out is that Noodles speculating that it might be a metaphor isn't like substantive in and of itself in terms of like building an argument, and that Noodles should provide more context for why he thinks it's more likely to be metaphorical, because I think what Swag is trying to do is he's trying to establish that like unless we are told that something is different than like non-real, then we can just rely on a default assumption that it is real, even if it's happening in a different plane. And I think that's pretty reasonable, but I do think that it's something that could be challenged in the context of a debate. It then starts to veer into like, okay, debate bro tactics versus reading like literary analysis type thing, right? It gets a little bit bit of a gray area, I guess I'd say. Spicy Boy says, no, I didn't know they got heated. Oh yeah, it was fucking intense, dude. All I heard was Jay was doing the thing in the Hashirama debate where he doesn't really rebuke the arguments and kind of argue. I don't even remember what the debate was about, because it so quickly lost lost focus, and like there was a period of I think 20 minutes or so where they were literally just screaming at each other, and the things that they say I won't repeat out loud. I don't really want them on recording on my channel, I'll just put it that way. Yeah, it was actually a Minato versus Kakuzu again. I did a stream about that a while ago. I don't expect you to watch it. It was fucking over 5 hours long. But yeah, it was that was the topic, and it just got very, very, very spicy. They basically just like stopped the debate for about 15 or 20 minutes to just like yell at each other, loud miking over each other, not even listening to each other. I wouldn't be surprised if they literally just like hit the mute on Discord or whatever, like the deafen button on Discord, and just like yelled at each other the whole time. It got really intense. But they have a long history of not being each other's biggest fans. Let's see. Slimy says, I feel like if Noodles wanted to, he could have brought up the Kakuzu's access to all 5 chakra natures with power equivalent to Raikiri, so that with the AoE of it could be hard for Minato to counter. I think he tried to say that by saying that Kakuzu would blow up the whole battlefield before Minato got to use Flying Raijin. So that's you know, but to your credit, to your point, the fact that they didn't talk about most of the jutsu and abilities that these characters have is really disappointing to me. Like, I want to know about all the things that Kakuzu can do and how he actually does it within the context of a debate. I don't want just like some general scaling to Biju level. Like, that's boring as shit. Like, talk about what the characters can actually do. Slimy says the issue is that Minato could place markings in Kuna anywhere in the battlefield. Yeah, he could place it on the ground. He could place it on Kakuzu himself, right? He could, I don't know. There's lots of different shit that he can do, potentially. If Kakuzu shifts to long-range mode, he would be too slow to dodge Minato since he couldn't dodge Naruto. Yeah, absolutely. Not to mention that Minato can also use shadow clones. So as long as Minato is relative to Naruto during the Kakuzu fight, and as long as Minato can make as many shadow clones as Naruto did, then yeah, he'll be fine. At the very least, he'll be able to place a fucking FTG seal on Kakuzu. And again, like, if you look at the explosive power of a paper bomb and compare it to Kid Naruto's Rasengan, and look at what it did to blow out the back of the water tower, I think it's fair to say that Minato, like Jonin Minato's Rasengan, should be equally powerful. Therefore, it should scale over a paper bomb and plus the AP of a kunai. Therefore, it should also be capable of damaging Kakuzu, since Kakuzu walls up when he sees a paper bomb kunai coming at him. So there's your victory condition. You know, you could also argue that yeah. Well, I'll stop there. I'm not trying to argue specifically for Minato here, but yeah. Spicy Boy says, I made a statement where I said Swag is a great creator, but he's better power scaling discussions than debating. But after this, I think I have to take it back. 2026 Swag is over his previous self. I think he's gotten better for sure. But yeah, I agree. I don't want to speak for him, but I would be surprised if Swag would ever describe himself as a debater, right? Like, he is a content creator. He like explains Naruto. He talks about theories. He talks about the mechanics of how jutsu work and stuff like that. He breaks things down for a general audience. Then he did some debates, but the way he approaches debates is like he understands burden of proof. He understands like rhetorical strategies and stuff like that. But he's not like somebody like Apollo, right? Who is going to be bringing out all of these debate terminology, like philosophy terms and stuff like that. He's not somebody like Noodles who's going to be going on the warpath and have all these tactics, or even somebody like Sage, right? That's not really his strength. It's not, and that's not like a dig at him. It's just not what he's put his skill points into, right? You could say the opposite about Noodles. He has put a lot of skill points in his debate tactics or whatever, but he doesn't, in my opinion, doesn't understand the series as well as Swag does, and isn't as good at explaining things and breaking them down to a general audience. Slimy says, and also Minato can summon a toad. That's a good point too, on Kakuzu whenever he wants to, at least make him block it to make an opening. Summon Gamabunta. Gamabunta also has like his water blast jutsu and stuff like that, right? It's worth considering. Like, oh, here's a good example, right? Gamabunta has a big fucking sword, so if he summons Gamabunta, Gamabunta slashes him with the sword. It would be in character for Kakuzu to wall up with to not dodge it, to either use Diamond Morph or to try and catch it with his bare hands. That gives Minato plenty of opportunity to flank him and put a seal on him, right? Like, that's a great example. This is the point, right? I didn't even think about that because I'm so lost in the sauce with the debates that are coming up, the arguments that are coming up in the debate, that I'm forgetting about all this other shit that Minato can do. And so did they. That, like, the debate between Minato and Kakuzu hasn't actually happened. This is a debate between Kakuzu's durability scaling and Swag's narrative scaling.
I don't
And
think
like, you don't even need to
I don't
argue
have evidence
this.
for the claim, but it's self-evident. So it's like you don't have evidence. Self-evidence isn't an argument. You're saying it's self-evident.
so.
that
Like
the
your
stream
your
world
your
has to scale
argument.
Batman versus SwagKage. Batman, no diffs. No, hell no. I don't think so. I don't think so one bit.
with physical
Your
world.
argument is that these ninja like aren't impressive at all
What?
without chakra.
Straw man?
I guess I am strawmanning you. I'm really confused by what you're saying. You're saying that it's irrelevant that these are chakra I mean, like, this is spoken of as a fight. Like Minato tells
it's not.
Naruto before this happens that he's gonna have to get
It's
strong enough
spoken
to
of as a
tame the
chakra
nine tails.
dust war.
It's spoken
But
of
this
as
is like what B explicitly says about this is that it's a fight for dominance of chakra. So like Naruto's chakra is trying to get the Nine Tails chakra, and the Nine Tails is trying to get Naruto's chakra. That's what's actually happening. That's what's stated to happen. So there is no fight that's described. The fight is just a visual representation of the chakras fighting. You see how the Nine Tails has that like little blood
that's
thing next
so
to him?
fucking
That's because
Yeah, that's not true. I mean, we saw B literally say that he was going to fight, so the fight did actually happen. Slimy said, wait, would Minato's contract seal remove Kakuzu's hearts from his control, since it also remove Obito's genjutsu from Kurama? Yeah, I think you actually brought that up in a previous stream. I know somebody did. That's a very good point as well. I think it might. It's hard to prove something like that because, there is a difference between a contract between like a summon and the hijutsu that specifically that Kakuzu is using. To me, that's kind of like asking, could Minato prevent Haku from using his ice jutsu with that same thing, right? That's not a perfect analogy by any means, but it's something like that. I think it's like a deeper. It's not that Kakuzu has like a contract with worms or something like that. I think it's a jutsu that he's actively using, sort of similar to a Kekkei Genkai almost. Spicy Boy says, I completely forgot about the Ebony Blade versus Kakuzu moment that was brought up that would have done a really bad number on the Kakuzu durability stuff and they could have moved on quicker. Yeah, exactly, because as far as I can tell, that's just a sword that's just like dipped in like coated in poison, right? So if Kakuzu had enough base durability to be able to resist a stab from a sword, he could have just like hit it with his forehead like Kabuto deflecting Shizune's needles with his forehead protector and bounced it off or just like shattered it, right? Like Naruto, or like grabbed it like Naruto shattering Pain's chakra rod, something like that. But no, he just fucking That's another example. Like Sage Naruto at one point grabs Pain's chakra rod and shoves it into his body while in Sage mode, if I'm not mistaken. I think he has to be in Sage mode to use the sensory tracking to track him down as well, right? So I mean, I think stabby things in Naruto are more threatening than maybe we give them credit for. Just put it that way. So like Minato getting stabbed through the chest with the Kurama's claw isn't that much of an anti-feat, in other words. Slimy Europe says, I'm talking about specifically the control over the creature, since Obito lost control over Kurama, even though it was unrelated to the contract. It could be. Yeah. So if Kakuzu has the creatures outside of his body at that point and they're autonomous and doing their own thing, I think you could make a strong case for him losing control of them with that contract seal thing. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Oh my god, it's so stupid.
He's not.
Yeah, but I mean,
he's
you
not
have shit
physical.
happening. You have shit happening like B going into the chakra world and like blocking tailed beast bombs or like whatever the fuck that was that Kurama
A
shot
tiny
out.
ass
Like,
tailed beast bomb in the chakra world. Yes.
yes.
Yeah, notice how Noodles like deflected from that. That's not the point.
So I mean, it's pretty obvious that this is supposed to be a fight that we're supposed to take seriously, and that the feats that
It
happen
was
are
just
supposed
B
to be
slightly
taken
helping him
seriously.
in the struggle for chakra.
Yeah, but then we actually see the physical chakra tug of war that you're talking about after a pretty long fight. So I don't think this makes any sense.
No, you can see when Naruto completes the chakra tug of war.
Yeah,
That's
but
all.
you see it start as well.
Yeah, you see them start the struggle and end the struggle. Cool.
You see them start the struggle and end the struggle after they fight. So you're saying that
Yeah, Swag is correct here.
the fight was pointless, which I think is really dumb,
physical
and like a
world. You have
huge
nothing on
reach,
that.
and
Fellas,
it's
fellas,
more.
be more aware. Be more aware. You're interrupting.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have no evidence that the chakra world scales to the physical world. You claimed it was self-evident because, ninja.
Well, in that statement is the implication from Noodle's perspective that it is a chakra world, and that's something that he hasn't like really demonstrated yet.
Use chakra or whatever.
Like Kushina in that world is made of chakra, I guess, but that doesn't mean the entire world is.
I'm just saying that two chakras fighting doesn't inherently have to equate to two people fighting, because there's also other aspects in the physical world, like your physical stats, that come into play, like your taijutsu and things like.
That's fine, but if it's ninjutsu, like that is valid for sure. But if it's ninjutsu clashing, then yeah, I think it's just chakra on chakra, so that should apply to the actual world. But of course, you could argue that like since Minato is clashing with his like arm, right? Like he's using his physical version of himself in this world, that part, like his body, might not translate to the real world, but the jutsu itself should. I think.
Like that. B is explicitly weaker here. The Ninetales is probably
Just let you guys know, this
too.
is going to be like the last
So-
little interaction where we're out of time.
Yeah.
Okay. Honestly, I'm good. I'm ready to conclude if you are.
Okay. The last thing I'll say before we go to conclusion is I think that you're just leaving out the purpose of the fight beforehand. I think that it's like a glaring hole in the argument, because like if we didn't see the chakra tug of war and it was just a physical chakra tug of war, or like sorry, if this was just a metaphor for the chakra tug of war that you're talking about, and there was only a fight or there was no fight, I would see where you were coming from. But we see them fight each other. These are feats that generally track with what we would expect of both characters, and then they have the chakra tug of war. After all of that, they literally do it, not metaphorically. And you're saying that the whole thing was a metaphor, except for that really happened, but it's a shorter metaphorical representation. It's just really, I feel like the argument collapses on itself. But yeah, we can move to conclusion.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think Noodles can still drill away at some of Swag's overall argumentation from a debate standpoint, but if I were in Noodles' position and Swag made that argument, personally, I would be like, yeah, that makes sense. Like I wouldn't feel the need to like continue to nitpick away at this, because I would acknowledge that as like the superior narrative interpretation, and at the end of the day, that's what we're talking about. Like, yes, we are debating, yes, there are we can like clash on tactics, but at the end of the day, like, we're trying to figure out what happened in the story and to share that with other people, and I think that's a much better interpretation. So I would be happy to concede that point. I wouldn't see the need to die on that hill, so to speak. Slimy said also the fight Kakuzu had with Yukito was off screen, so yeah, exactly. There's so much stuff that we don't know about what happened over the course of that fight. The cut could have been after Kakuzu took time to heal, since cuts don't do anything to him. could have been torn apart and recovered, absolutely. He could have lost a heart, and he could have replenished that during the Chiriku, like, Fire Temple Monk fight. Like, Hidan could have done all the fighting, Kakuzu could have done all the fighting, like, we just don't know. And again, outside of a debate context, if we're just chatting and you're like, I think Hidan fought Yukito and kicked her ass all himself with no help, and then somebody else, like, I don't know, like Kuribo was to come in and say, no, I think Kakuzu did it all, I think it would be fine. Like, both of you would be totally within your rights, and it would be totally fine, and I don't think there would be any argument. It's just that the debate forces that extra level of scrutiny, right? Let's see. Kuribo says, seeing the tug of war actually happening destroys Noodles' entire point. I think that's fair to say.
Let me respond to that real quick, and then we can move to conclusions.
No.
He's got to respond to that.
I feel like we're gonna be here forever though, because we're
No, this is the last
I'm not
thing
gonna fight the mods. No, I'm not gonna fight the mods. You got it.
This is the last thing I'm saying. Seeing a fight doesn't necessarily mean a literal physical fight is occurring. Fiction often visualizes abstract concepts so us as the audience can understand them. The audience also sees things like an inner mindscape. They can see things like emotions taking physical form. They can see things like a person's consciousness speaking to them. Those aren't necessarily like literal events that are occurring in the world. They're visual representations of internal processes.
I think Noodles should have demonstrated what he just said. Like, he's appealing to a literary precedent. He should back that up.
Likewise, the chakra tug of war can be depicted as a fight because it's an intuitive way to show.
Because that, like, you could reductio ad absurdum this too and be like, okay, well then, the implications of what he's saying is that anything in any media could potentially not be happening at all, and could just be an abstract representation and never have happened. And I mean, okay, so spoilers for the movie Life of Pi if you haven't seen it or read the book, but like that, much of what you see in that movie doesn't literally happen, right? It's a metaphor. But this is the thing about that, is that it's acknowledged at the end of the movie, like it's explained to us, right? Also, major spoilers for Spiritfarer. Spiritfarer is a really good game. You should consider checking that out. I will also say, the stuff that happens in Spiritfarer kind of doesn't happen. It does, but it also kind of doesn't. It's abstractified. But I'm actually trying to think of something, like an example of literature or movies or games or something that I've experienced where you get to the end of the movie and like the director's like, oh, actually none of that happened, all of that was just a metaphor for like some bad tacos that I ate, or like, I don't know, I got for me being drunk and stupid. Like, it's just like, I can't think of a single example. Like Eraserhead or something like that is very metaphorical, right? You can layer in metaphors and stuff within media and make things abstract and surreal and more representative. But that doesn't mean that the events also didn't take place diegetically. The little weird dinosaur baby thing in Eraserhead is a metaphor for a man being unwritten, like not ready to raise a child and not knowing what to do with it and being like kind of terrified and grossed out by it and not knowing how to take care of it. But also diegetically in the movie, that character did have that little creature baby, right? So I don't know, it's just a really, really weird argument that is taking a very strange interpretation of literature, and I mean not just like written literature, just like storytelling, that I think is going to be really hard to demonstrate.
Show two forces competing for control, which is exactly what B describes. If a movie shows a person climbing a mountain to represent overcoming depression, the audience literally sees them climbing a mountain. That doesn't mean the character actually climbed a mountain in their fucking head. That doesn't mean they actually did that. That's just a
but it could, like, yes, it probably does actually.
Representation of the visual of internal struggle.
Unless it's called out as like a dream sequence or something like that, then yeah.
But we see the fight. Seeing something on page doesn't mean shit. It doesn't prove that it's a literal physical event. The fact that it's shown visually is not evidence against it being a symbolic depiction of an otherwise invisible process. You need additional evidence from the series to maintain that the fight itself, that there is a fight itself, not just an underlying chakra struggle.
All right, so
but you have no evidence for this interpretation. Fuck you. Suck my dick.
Can I have the last word on this subject because he started? I'll keep it brief, but Six, can I have the last word because he started?
You never fucking come at me again. You just got a raw dog like a little pussy. Remember that.
Six, can I have the last word?
Delightful, mature conduct there.
Because he started, before we go to conclusion.
Dumb bitch.
I'll keep it brief.
Yeah, go for it. Oh, he left.
What? He left Paul? He conceded! I wasn't done!
Wow.
Yep. Well, that's pretty much it. Let's see if Swag have anything else to add.
Myself, but I feel like it's a weak argument because again, like I said, like we see both. Like I guess I was just gonna repeat myself, but like
Actually, yeah. Well, no, let's hear it out.
you can use like abstract art and abstract visuals and storytelling. Naruto does it all the time. But I think it's really weird to claim that this is a case of that because you literally see the tug of war that he's talking about. He even cited the Obito one, which also literally, really, physically happens, and then like I'm confused by what the difference between the two of them is. Because like I said, like I would kind of agree with this that like okay, they're not actually fighting, maybe they're having this like tug of war shit the way that B's describing it, if you only saw the fight and then Naruto got the the Nine Tails chakra. But he's like literally physically fighting him, throwing all these attacks at him and shit, and then he has to physically win the tug of war there too. So I don't see how it can be an allegory. It doesn't make any sense. But I guess since he's not here to go to conclusion, my conclusion is he didn't substantiate his points and I did, so I win.
And there we have it. Yeah, I mean, like, I do think it's extremely bad form to leave before conclusions and before a verdict. So, if I were in that position, like, if I were a judge, I would be like, okay, yeah, Noodles. It's not a concession, but it's a forfeit. Like Noodles forfeit by leaving. But if I were more charitable and I just like stuck to the arguments, I still think Swag wins overall. I don't think he always has the strongest positions, but I think he more consistently, more accurately represents the series correctly. I think he just winds up falling for too many of Noodles' traps. But the fact that Noodles is more emphasizing laying traps, from my perspective, than like representing the stuff with nuance and in context that they're talking about, just makes me swing more in favor of Swag overall. And it's like Noodles all like, if you compare the amount of debate related content he does to the amount of like narrative analysis content, it's very clear that his skill points have gone heavily into debating. And the fact that like, even if technically Swag lost by a few points here, the fact that you would have expected for Noodles to just like totally decimate this debate, or not even decimate, like dominate, like just absolutely sweep in this debate, because this is what he does. Like, it's on his turf, it's on his terms, right? Like, he's not going to beat Swag in a narrative analysis context, but he might beat him in this specific arena because this is where he's done all of his training. But it's like, you don't see that. You don't see the landslide here, right? So even if you give it to Noodles, it's kind of like an indictment that it was so close, I think. But I think it was overall better than the last one in terms of things didn't get as crazy. The argumentation wasn't as far out, I guess. But yeah. So let me catch up on chat real quick. Doflamingo versus One Piece verse and writing. I still haven't gotten to Doflamingo yet. Slimy says, I think the mental plane having to show chakra Naruto out means that it wasn't just pure chakra, since the visualization shouldn't need to visualize another layer of chakra rules for it to work. I have to think about that, but I think you're onto something there, yeah. Celeste was about a girl climbing a mountain to deal with depression, having physical manifestations of her struggles appear in the mountain, but her character was actually climbing the mountain, right? Like, the events did diegetically happen, even though they were a metaphorical it was a story about overcoming depression as much as it was, or even maybe more than it was, a story about climbing a literal mountain, but the character still climbed the mountain at the same time, right? Spicy Boy says, I think the Nine Tails took over Noodles there for a second, and then I would respond to that, but I saw Slimy Orb's response to that, and I think that takes the cake. Slimy Orb says it was a weird magic mountain. Yeah, okay. I have to play that game. I never really got into it, but I still have it somewhere. I think it's on my PlayStation. Oh yeah, and Rioman says SwagKage is such a bum. Disagree. I don't think so. But that is going to bring us to the conclusion of our Minato versus Kakuzu, Noodles versus SwagKage debate sequence, saga, series, whatever. I appreciate you guys sticking with me for this. It's been fun. It's been interesting. And, despite the fact that things got a little heated between the debaters, it wasn't nearly as toxic as something like the Jay versus Noodles debate, or even the Batman versus Six debate. I think I am kind of. I feel like I say this every stream, but I am kind of getting to a point where it's like I don't know how much more I can possibly say about Kakuzu or how much more I can possibly say about Noodles. I think I've kind of rambled a lot over the past year or so about his stuff. So this will unless something else comes out that he does that people are like, please, please, please react to this. I think I'm done. Like I'm not gonna be. If he does another debate with Jay, I'm really I really don't want to listen to it at this point. I don't want to hear people screaming at each other anymore. Um, and so I think, I said that I was going to finish the Batman versus Six analysis, so I'm going to do that on Thursday. I think we should be able to finish it up on Thursday. I want to keep my word on that. And then I think I'm gonna probably take a week off of streaming, or just like play games like casually, like play some Warhammer or something like that, or some Sekiro or something, because I want to take the time that I would usually spend on prepping and researching for the streams, on getting some new graphics for the stream. I really want to do the Dark Souls 2 music analysis, and I need to set up my DAW and my audio workstation and stuff like that. Get my keyboard out of storage and shit like that. So, fun stuff coming up in the future, and we'll be getting back to the gaming streams eventually as well. But I have enjoyed this a bit more focus on the Naruto stuff as well. Let's see. Spicy says, I think Noodles picked an uphill battle picking Kakuzu. Yeah. Swag did a better job than I realized looking at it the second time. I think his Rasen Shuriken rebuttal and Chakra Rum counter decided it. Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. And look, I mentioned this to Noodles before, and I'll say it again. I think that Noodles can contribute positively to the debate, Naruto online, whatever community, especially when it comes to coming up with topics and characters to talk about. As much as it can be fun to listen to Lee versus, like Chunin Exams, Lee versus Neji, or Neji versus Sasuke, or whatever else, or like, Minato versus Hashirama, or whatever, or Itachi and Madara. Like, there's certain topics and certain matchups that have been done to death, and only Noodles, I guess, Noodles and Parrot are out here talking about Kakuzu, right? Only Noodles would do like a Choji versus Gamabunta debate, and that's what I would like to see more of, right? Like, I would love to see him put away the toxicity. I would love to see him just disengage from the hostility with other people and just talk to people that he actually enjoys talking to, about interesting, fun matchups, right? Like, if you listen to his debate with, I think it was Bubbles, like, things were pretty amicable. Like, why not get together with somebody like Bubbles and just do a fun Orochimaru versus Suigetsu debate or something, or like, 10-10 versus Ino debate. Like, I don't know. Like, I'd much rather hear some shit like that. But anyway, Spicy Boy says, want to say I will definitely try to show up more, and obviously, since they're about power scaling, I don't agree with every point you make, which is fine. I appreciate your promotion of good discussion. Yeah, totally. And hey, look, I totally appreciate it when other people disagree, because I wind up, as long as everything is like, relatively polite, like, I wind up learning things. There have been plenty of times that I've made mistakes or said wrong things on stream, and people have corrected me, and I appreciate that, because it's an opportunity for me to learn new shit. So I appreciate you stopping by, and always feel free to share your opinions. And if we disagree, that's just an opportunity for us to learn more about something and dive into the topic more. So I appreciate that. Wouldn't mind Kakuzu and Hidan versus someone. Yeah, that would be really cool. That'd be really cool. What would be kind of fun is like, insert Akatsuki duo here versus other Akatsuki duo here. Like Kakuzu and Hidan versus why am I blanking on his name? Sasori and Deidara, something like that, right? Or even like a Akatsuki gauntlet, like Kisame runs the gauntlet of everybody else up to him, but not including Itachi, something like that. Consider Hidan to be the sixth heart. That's an interesting take. Yeah, I like that. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for hanging out tonight. Have a great rest of your weekend. I will be back on Thursday to finish up the 6 and Batman debate. And yeah, take care. Bye-bye.